Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pip and Dodds podcast featuring me, Michael Rachel. You have probably seen my face before, but tonight I'm filling in as the host for tonight's game between the Panthers and Packers as Tom Pipines is celebrating the holiday with family today. Big shoes to fill, but I'll do my best. I'm here alongside John Dodds, our Packers historian, and producer Jason Ruck from Wisconsin Sports Stream. John, the visiting Carolina Panthers have lost 7 of 8 and are 4-9 on the season. Packers come into this Saturday game 10-3, first in the NFC, along with a current 3-game win streak. The Packers are playing on a Saturday for just the third time since 1998. So, John, personally, do you like Saturday games? And then what is the key for you in order to see the Packers winning tonight?
Well, I think the NFL would play every day of the week and noon hour if they could. But this works later in the year. Later in the year, when the college becomes there's no college schedule, and they don't go head to head with the. Sorry, I'm getting feedback there. With the high schools. So, but
I think Jason's audio in the background is
okay.
I just sent him a message, so hopefully he'll see that.
Okay. Well, in terms of tonight, the Panthers have lost 7 out of 8, but they have some really good playmakers on defense. One, number 53, Brian Burns. He's a guy the Packers looked at. Instead, they took Rashawn Gary. He was about 4 picks behind back then. The 2019 draft. The other thing is Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin, number 21, is a big safety DB from Southern Illinois. And we were looking at that in our draft show last April. We were looking at him second, third round, an interesting player. He's been absolutely terrific for them. He became the second guy in NFL history to score touchdowns on fumble recovers and returns in back-to-back plays. There's been 2 of them, I guess, in 70 years. He just did that about 2 weeks ago. So he is really a good player, and he can disguise defenses. Modern day defenses is all about disguising your defense. And he can line up as a linebacker, an outside linebacker, middle linebacker, safety. He can line up in a nickel slot back. He can blitz from all of them. So he is really the key to that defense.
Yeah, and I know I talked about it in the pregame show earlier this week with Pip and you. Carolina, their defense had a lot of turnover from last year. I think all 7 of their picks during the draft were defensive players, so they came out to a slow start, but now they've got things clicking along nicely. Before we get to the start of the game, I want to go over the sponsors really quick. Our first one, DJ's Goalpost. Don Matovich, good friend of ours. DJ has been a friend of the podcast for quite some time, even hosting several podcasts at the bar. Check out DJ's in Menominee Falls, as it is one of a kind with a collection of sports memorabilia like no other. John, I know you like the burgers there a lot. I'm personally a fan of the pizza. I was there a couple of weeks ago with a friend to watch a Sunday night football game. Their pizza is pretty good. So I don't know if you've tried that out, but I would give that a try next time you are there. Other sponsors, Elephantly Collective, our marketing team. They're a creative and multi-talented team composed of web designers, full-stack developers, graphic designers, and content curators. They were established in the tech epicenter of San Francisco by Andrew O'Grogan and Shannon Geringer, and they are located now in Milwaukee and Paris, France. For Milwaukee is a golf simulator bar located on Water Street in downtown Milwaukee, giving unique golf experiences for players of all levels. With PGA Golf Instruction, state-of-the-art golf simulators, you can work on your game or play over 40 golf courses around the globe. Grab a beer and slice of pizza while playing ping pong, darts, hoop fever, and more. And then Frederick Packaging and PCI Construction as well. John, the inactives came in, and Jay Sternberger is going to be a no-go tonight for the Packers. For the Panthers, more notables, Christian McCaffrey and Russell Okung will be inactive. What do you make of that news?
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey has only played, I think, 3.5 games this year. That's a big loss for them. Russell Okung, the bottom line in this is if you get into the grill of Teddy Bridgewater, their quarterback, that's the way to beat them. And having Okung out with a bad calf is big because they have some wide receivers that could hurt you. They have Robbie Anderson, the old Jet. He's a really quick guy, and they have Samuel too. Samuel, those are the two. Those
And
are
DJ Moore.
yeah, and DJ Moore's back, so they have some really good players. So it's pass rush. Pass rush is needed, and not having Acuna is a big deal.
Packers are going to kick this one away to start the game. We like to see that. We always like the second half return for the Packers. They can double up to end the first half. I've got a question here from Steve from Chicago. It's more of a big picture as a game in a whole. So I think this is good to start out with. He said, these games where we should win against a team not in our division scare me. What are your main concerns and what factors could stop the Packers from sealing the victory tonight?
Number one, turnovers. That's the thing. I think the Packers know they need to get the championship game, the title game, going through Titletown, Green Bay. So they haven't done that. They've lost at Seattle, at Atlanta, and then they beat at Chicago. So Rodgers wants that, and they've impressed with the younger players that you need to take this seriously, and we're all in it. And the difference, we talked about this in the podcast, the difference is not necessarily the home field advantage. It's the playing 3 games versus maybe a tough game against Washington, number one. Then you would play Los Angeles, Rams, and New Orleans potentially, versus sitting out a week, resting, and then playing the winner of the Rams against New Orleans. That would be huge.
Yeah, a lot of the TV personalities, including Michael Irvin, just before in the pregame show, they're bringing up the cold weather and how that's a big impact. But I'm with you, JD, where that one game, you're the only team to get that rest. I think that's way more important. And you've mentioned earlier that Aaron Rodgers is a pretty good quarterback in a dome. So the weather is, the one game bye is definitely the big piece to that.
Yeah, interesting tonight, there's no wind, but there's a low ceiling. There's fog coming in. The radio crew mentioned that the fog was coming in over the lights from the lake. So depending on how the wind blows, you don't know what that's going to be. But look at the Packers' last loss. It was Minnesota, and you go to Minnesota, you lose that Minnesota, or they lost to Indianapolis. But when they lost to Minnesota, it was because of the wind. They looked bad against Jacksonville in the wind because of the wind. So an indoor stadium, if you could say 2 games in an indoor stadium, I would sign up for that. That's not going to be how it works, but it will be an advantage to play in Green Bay. But the bigger advantage is the rest.
We see Matt LaFleur having to burn a quick timeout for the Packers. They only had 10 men on the field on a 3rd and 2. How about this Packers defense in general, though, over the last couple of weeks? They've had 11 sacks in the past 2 games. Darius Smith is now tied for 3rd in the league in sacks. Are you encouraged with how the defense has gotten going lately against opposing quarterbacks?
I am. I'm fired up over the 2019 draft. Rashawn Gary, I think, has had 3 sacks in the last 4 games. Darnell Savage, the safety, is big. Elton Jenkins has just been terrific. Sternberger is out tonight after being kicked in the head, but Kingsley Keke has rushed the passer over the last few weeks. So that draft is really starting to take a step toward help.
And now we'll see newly acquired Taven Austin back to return the punt, it looks like.
Yeah.
Good 3 and out to start for the Packers, although they did have to blow that timeout.
Yeah, I think what happened was it was 3rd and 2. And you think with McCaffrey, or if they had him in, or even Davis, they're going to run, and they put in a passing situation. So I think they switched back into their nickel package. I think that's what it was. So, use a timeout in the first half, no big deal. Use a timeout in the second half, that's a big deal.
Aaron Rodgers will get the offense going today for the Packers. He's been very, very good this year. 39 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions in 13 games. If the season ended today, John, would you give Aaron Rodgers the MVP?
I would, but I'm biased.
I don't think so.
I would, and I think they would. A lot of people would do that because I think Kansas City's a better team. There's more weapons there, and when in doubt, go for the old guy. He may not be able to do this again. He's 37 years old, so I think there's a bias toward the old guy. I think that everybody knows the best player in the NFL is Mahomes. The most fun for me to watch is Mitch Trubisky, but that's for different reasons. Yeah, Rodgers has had one heck of a year.
Got both Jones and Williams in the backfield to start this play. I like that design. Super simple, and it confuses the defense with both Williams and Jones out there.
Uh-huh.
This Packers team, John, has been very good offensively. They lead the league in points. A lot of people would assume it's Kansas City, but that's not the case. This Packers offense has actually been the best in the NFL when it comes to points. With most of their games, they're scoring over 30 a game. Do you think they'll be able to keep that going in the playoffs? I know you at the beginning of the season were saying that the Packers' strength of schedule isn't going to be the hardest this year, but in playoff time it will. Do you think they'll be able to score 30 a game come playoff time?
I think they will. They're on a roll. All depends on the weather conditions.
Oh, he's go. Oh, there's one more. Big run from Aaron Jones, over 50 yards there, it looked like.
Yeah, I'm going to have to move my computer, I think, because I'm watching a computer feed and I'm about one play behind you.
Oh, geez.
So,
well, there's going to be a 60 plus yard run by Aaron Jones. That was a 3rd and 1 too. I'm a little surprised they ran the ball, given that a stop there at the line of scrimmage would have forced him to punt. I'm surprised Rodgers didn't throw it there. Now this running game's humming. Now Jamal Williams will have a run over 10 yards. First drives have been successful for the Packers pretty much all year. What do you attribute that to, John?
Just efficiency. They practice the scripted plays. They're ready to go. Rodgers can adjust to anything that the defense is showing them. And plus, they're pretty good. They have a good running back. They have a decent tight end. They have a great wide receiver and a Hall of Fame quarterback. And their offensive line, no matter who gets hurt or who, they just plug and play. It's just a remarkably consistent. And they're bordering on the records for 2011. When you say that, that was in all the 41 years I've been covering the Packers. 2011, that was the zenith. Boy, that one. That was the most efficient offense I've ever seen.
And speaking of efficiency, first in the NFL in red zone efficiency, 77% of their red zone trips are touchdowns. That is a very good clip. We'll see if they go to Devontae Adams here in the red zone. He's at a touchdown, I believe, 8 straight games now. Oh, Tunyon just couldn't get it in. It'll be stopped at the 1. Are you caught up again, or are you still a couple plays behind?
Well, I think at the end of this drive, I'm going to have to switch places here in my house and get the live feed on the TV. The computer I'm looking at is just too slow.
Tunyon almost got in there. He's been very good for the Packers this year. He's tied for 6th. I saw this earlier and I was surprised. Tied for 6th in the league in reception touchdowns, which is tied with Kelce. And obviously he doesn't have as many receiving yards as Kelce, but he's one of the top tight ends in the league this year.
That's what you need. You need a guy like Tunyon to come out of nowhere, making minimum wage and really helping you. Now, they're going to have to pay him some pretty good dollars in the next 2 years to keep him, but having a good tight end is huge.
And John, I know you're behind, but they're going to pay him off. He got stopped at the 1. They go back to him on the next play. He'll have a 1-yard touchdown catch, which will be his 10th on the year, which is now most among tight ends in the NFL.
What's interesting on the Erod threw him open on the play before that, the one that went down to the 1. He faked it and he was wide open, but he looked off him, and that's amazing how he can do that. And it made the DB go the wrong way just for 1 or 2 steps. So that's so I'm going to
go ahead.
I'm going to go move 1 second. Everything taped and organized. That sucks. I thought I was going to be very organized, but no.
Thank you.
This is like a pit stop
Yeah, it's like a scene change in a movie or something.
in a play, right?
Yeah, in a play, exactly.
Thank you to my lovely wife Sheila for a
Our special guest appearance today.
That's right. Yeah, that was impressive. You go all the way down and you have the ball now coming out the second half. So that's the way to go. Defer and score your first touchdown and go up 7-0.
That's now 5 straight it's 5 straight games for Tunyon with a touchdown, which I didn't really feel like that. It doesn't feel like he's had 5 in a row, but he has. I mean, Devontae Adams has just overshadowed him, I guess, because he's had 8 in a row. But we got a question here from Rebecca from Shorewood, and she has a question about Teddy Bridgewater. I recall Teddy Bridgewater when he subbed in at Minnesota in our big playoff game years ago. He's still around. Where do you put him as a starting quarterback and as a threat to the Packers in this game? What should we watch for?
Well, it's remarkable he's even playing because he suffered a non-contact knee injury when he was with Minnesota that it was so bad they had to stop practice and they just dismissed all the players because they were so upset. They were crying. They thought he was going to lose his leg. It was just horrible. All 3 ligaments, and there's some blood vessels, but he is a solid quarterback, but he's a good backup. He did a nice job for New Orleans. Now he just threw a great pass in the middle of 2 Packers.
Great catch by DJ Moore there. Just went right over Kevin Kane.
DJ Moore is a nice player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really Teddy's first shot at a starting job because in Minnesota he was the backup, and in New Orleans he was obviously the backup to Drew Brees, although he started a fair amount because Brees was injured, but this year is really his first shot at being a starting quarterback.
Yeah. No, you can see that the intensity of the Packer defense is they've taken it up a notch at Detroit and then so far tonight. But getting back to Teddy Bridgewater, I rate him as an average quarterback. They do have above average weapons for him, although one of them, McCafferty, is down. And traditionally, they've had a great tight end. Their tight ends have been young and inconsistent, but the wide receivers are solid. But Russell Okung not being their offensive left tackle, Packers have to put some pass rush on him.
Yeah, and Teddy was sacked 4 times last week. He's only been sacked 23 on the year, but without Okung, you would think the Packers will be able to pressure him a little bit.
And the Packers have the slipperiest field in the NFL.
That's right.
Hybrid grass, and it's 50% plastic, and it gets wet. And especially at night, the dew, and depending on the temperature, now it's going to get really cloudy there, and it could get foggy there tonight. So just something to look at. But
Ooh, now that was close to a backwards pass. I think it was forward, but that was pretty close.
yeah, that one. Yeah, I guess it was forward. It was about a yard forward.
Yep. And this is the part of the game where the Packers really have to, get better at come playoff time, is that red zone defense, holding teams to field goals so that Rodgers can just keep putting touchdowns on everybody and field goals won't be able to catch up as there's a sack. Preston Smith, how about Preston?
Yeah, they lit a fire under him about 3 weeks ago. But I remember the Packers used to have a guy kind of like him, Sean Jones, in the mid 90s, number 90. I guess he was 96, defensive lineman, and he would not even sweat during training camp. He would just be, and Ron Wolf, they'd all say, boy, he looks terrible. And Ron Wolf goes, just wait. He's not being paid to perform at camp. And he'd say the same thing. And all of a sudden, the lights would go on in the regular season, and he was dynamite. Hopefully that's what Preston Smith.
That ball might have been out before Davis went down. They're going to say he was down, but
I think I heard the whistle, but
it looked real time like he was down, but we'll see a replay. Yeah, he's down.
Kenny Clark looks healthy. He's been all over, and the movement's been dramatically different than it was earlier in the year when he had the groin issue.
So good stand from the Packers defense to only allow a field goal here by Joey Sly. And that catch by DJ Moore, that was just too good. Kevin King had good coverage on him, so I'd say that was pretty good defensively. A little fun fact from Joey Sly, the Panthers kicker, I learned this last week. He's the last one to attempt a free kick off of a fair catch. Back, I think it was last year in a London game. There's that weird rule where you can fair catch a ball off a punt and then elect for a field goal, and the Panthers were the last team to attempt that. He missed it, but pretty cool.
The Packers won. The Packers beat the Bears in '64, I think, with Paul Hornung with a free kick. If you call for a fair catch, and it's if it's a fair catch and it's one of the final plays of the half, each half, you can line up a free kick. You can line up almost like a kickoff, except you can't use a tee. And there's a hold, and there's no blocking or no center snap required, and you kick it. It's called a free kick. Mason Crosby just missed. I think they credited it at 69 yards. I thought it was 70, but it was 69 yards. It just went under the crossbar. I want to say it was against Detroit, probably 2008 or so. That's the last time I've seen one, but I know that John Madden always would raise that issue on Monday Night Football. Well, it's a free kick. It's a free kick, and some of the coaches don't know the rule.
Yep.
Which is kind of odd.
I think John Harbaugh had a chance to use it late last year and didn't. But that Mason Crosby one, it was credited at 69, and he almost hit that. It was probably a yard short, if even that. Yeah, that would have been by far the longest in NFL history.
Yeah, that would have been. And it had to, a free kick, and it was in Lambeau, and it was in like late October, I think. You got to understand the rule, and that's why at the end of games, you haven't seen that much. But when I was a kid watching football in the 60s and 70s, that was more of a play. And you would see a lot of closer games than you do now. Now you hear, it's 45-28 or it's 28-17, but you had closer games back in the 60s. And part of the strategy was to take a safety on purpose. If you're deep in the end zone and say you're up by 6 and you're on your own 3-yard line and you're punting from your own end zone, rather than shorten the field, take a safety and use the other free kick is when you kick after a safety from the 20 and you can punt it. So that's the other, there's 2 free kicks. One you can score and one you kick after a safety.
Packers are about to get back on offense, up 7-3. Tavon Austin was recently signed. We saw him have 2 catches for 8 yards last week against Detroit, and obviously he's returning punts, not kickoffs, but punts. Do you think that Tavon Austin will be used more in the passing game as the weeks go on and he learns the playbook more? Or do you think we're seeing about what we'll see from him in the playoffs?
No, I think we'll see a lot of with him. You'll see some jet sweep action, fake jet sweep action, real short passes in the flat. It seems like LaFleur's outside zone likes to attack the flanks and put pressure on the flanks, and then they run up the middle. That's how they did. That's how they beat the Bears the last time. It was just to keep them off balance. They never knew what was happening, but they will use him a lot. Boy, you sure hope Irvin can come back. They have some liberal rules for returning guys from IR. Hopefully he can return because he's definitely better than Austin.
And that graphic that just popped up on the screen will not make Packers fans happy. Packers haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since 2002. But John, I mentioned earlier, they're averaging the most points in the league right now, offensively, with receivers that people didn't really think, would be big time, other than Devontae Adams. So, do you really think drafting wide receiver early in first or second rounds is as important as fans think it is?
Well, you just need to draft good players at any position. Like Jordan Love, that could be the master move because there was one scout that had him as the number 1 player in the draft this year for what he could do, and he compared him favorably to Mahomes. So there's is that Jeremy Chin? No, it's 31. Yeah, I don't drafting a wide receiver in round 1, I think is overrated. And Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson didn't do it, except for they needed a big wide receiver in 2002. So they traded up and they got Javon Walker. He was the only big number 1 wide receiver that they saw who could get off press coverage. So they drafted him. Other than that, Jennings was second round, Jordy was second round, Cobb was second round, and that's good enough. Devontae Adams was second round. Just get good players. It doesn't matter what round.
There's a 15-yard completion over the middle of Devontae Adams on 3rd and 7. John, Green Bay's been very good on 3rd down. They're one of the most efficient teams. What have you noticed from them that's made them so successful on those high pressure plays?
I think it's a good offensive line. You got skilled positions, guys going all over the field. And I think LaFleur's offense, they understand it this year. So it's a more crisp, it's like a roughing or a personal foul.
Yeah, I wonder if they're getting Adams for taunting, or so they'll get the first down, but they'll basically negate the 15-yard catch by Adams. That seems weak. I don't know what was said, but no punches were thrown or anything, so that was weird.
Yeah.
So first down for the Packers, but they won't really gain any yards. That's interesting. John, throughout the whole season, time of possession has been an emphasis for the Green Bay Packers. They're leading the league in average time of possession throughout the whole game, averaging just over 33 minutes in time of possession. How important is time of possession in an NFL game?
It's huge because it keeps your average defense off the field. And I'll tell you a Barry Alvarez story that involved Tom Pippins in a second when we have time. My wife is a big Notre Dame fan. She went to St. Mary's, and Barry Alvarez was Lou Holtz's defensive coordinator for many years before he came to Wisconsin. And there was Dennis Klum has this tremendous golf outing for Make-A-Wish every year. And Tom Pippins, Barry Alvarez was the guest. Tom Pippins was the master of ceremonies. And I said to Pip, "Hey, my wife has a question for Barry. If you run out of questions." And I gave it to him, and he said, "Well, let's see if we can do it. There's a free play." So the question my wife said was, "What did you learn most from Lou Holtz that you took to your head coaching job at Wisconsin?" And that was the final question of the round. And Barry kind of looked at Pip and went, "There's 200 people around at the 19th hole." And he said, "Well, that's a good question. Here's what I took. I learned that if we won the toss and we elected to receive, and we gave the ball to Jerome Bettis, and we went down the field and we scored a touchdown, I would get my guys together on the sidelines to give them a pep talk, and I would look up, and there was 7 minutes left on the clock in the first quarter, and we were up 7-0, and my defense hadn't given up 1 yard." And he said, "Run the ball. If you can run the ball, it's a mental, it's intimidation. There's all sorts of things with it." He said, "If you can run the ball," and the Packers have the threat of running the ball. And Bakhtiari said that his pass blocking is much easier. He and Balaga had more difficult time because the opponents under Mike McCarthy didn't think that the running game was credible. So they were teeing off to get after Rodgers every time. Now they're a split second late where they have to look, where's the ball? Oh, it's not a run, and then they rush. Bakhtiari said that's amazingly what an advantage that is. So this year, the threat of running and the jet sweep action, I think, is the reason why this is the best offense since 11.
We're about to see a 3rd and 1 for the Packers. We'll see if they do run the ball again. Jamal Williams limped off to the sideline a couple of plays ago, so that would hurt in the running game a lot for the Packers. They might have to get Tavon Austin activated and in the jet sweeps, as you were mentioning, or maybe we'll see a little bit of A.J. Dillon if the Williams injury was serious. I'm not sure if it is. It was just a limp, but something to keep in mind for later in the game.
Well, Dillon is active, so
yeah,
they can play him if they need to. Jamal Williams is another one of those guys that's really taken a step up. Whatever they're doing, and this is amazing this year because of COVID.
He almost broke that. Sorry, go ahead.
Jeremy Chin.
Good blocking there from MVS and Lazard.
That's another reason why they like big wide receivers. And both LaFleur, I got to give LaFleur and Rodgers credit, because when MVS was having confidence issues, they were talking up his blocking, which a young guy needs confidence.
And speaking of this running game, they're averaging over 12 a carry right now. Obviously, Jones had that long 46-yarder, but even including that, they've been, seems like, over 6 a carry on every single play.
I'll call out my inner Barry Alvarez and say that right now this drive is 9 plays, 51 yards, 451, and the Packer defense is sitting there giving up no yards on the sideline.
Oh, Jones has been very active today. He's got 70 yards at least now from the line of scrimmage. I think he's got 80 actually.
6 carries, 79 yards he has. But again, let's not give it to him more than 2 times. We have to keep this guy ready for the playoffs. And I think Drew Rosenhaus would agree with that. Just don't overwork my client. Let's keep him healthy.
Yeah, it's going to be big to see if Williams is able to come back, because without Williams, the Packers have shown no sense of confidence in AJ Dillon throughout the season. So I don't know if they'll just force play Dillon to save Aaron Jones from having to touch the ball 26 times today, or what they'll do. Hopefully Williams will be able to get back on the field shortly.
So it's now 10 plays, 65 yards, 531. Oh, he's talking to the ref about the taunting penalty.
Probably, yeah.
Rodgers is thinking, what does that taunting penalty really mean? It means that all our stats are going to be up 15 more yards on this drive. Because it took us 80 yards to go 65, basically.
So, John, you brought up Matt LaFleur briefly. Jennifer from Milwaukee has a question about LaFleur and Rodgers. She says, how much better is Coach LaFleur this year than last year to take the Packers to the next level past the NFC Championship game where they were eliminated last year? Or do you think it is more about how much better guys have been playing, including number 12?
Well, number one, the San Francisco 49ers are beaten and battered, and they're probably not going to make the playoffs. That was a team that I didn't think the Packers had any chance. They've been drafting well. They just beat the absolute living heck out of the Packers in the playoffs last year. Packers didn't show up that game, but they were just kick sand in their face, knocked them down and kicked sand in their face. So not having the 49ers there is a great opportunity for the Packers. But it's LaFleur and Rodgers, the dynamic last year. We would go over this on our podcasts the whole year with when Gary Ellerson was there, and we go back and forth. And Gary is top notch, and he agreed with the comment that who had to blink last year. Matt LaFleur blinked. You could if you had a younger guy, you could pull a Mike Holmgren out of Favre, and you could fit that square peg in a round hole and say, you run my offense. Well, they tried that earlier in the year, and it didn't really work. So they kind of went back to the inside zone scheme and went back to what Rodgers did. And it seemed like Rodgers would call 2 or 3 plays in the huddle and signal away from the running play that LaFleur wanted to use. So it was still Rodgers' ball. And LaFleur, what does LaFleur do? He's a rookie coach. He's playing with an iconic quarterback. The solution is to blink, have him blink. And the look on his face when Rodgers threw that touchdown pass at Kansas City to Jamal Williams in the back of the end zone, where he is going backwards and he's being hit, and he throws it about 35 yards in the air over Tunyon right into the back of the end zone for a great catch. And I watched an NFL Films or an NFL Turning Point show, and they had LaFleur mic'd up, and he just turns to his assistant. He says, that might have been the greatest throw I've ever seen. I cannot believe I thought he was throwing the ball away. He's on his back. He didn't see any of the play. So I think he realized, I have a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'll let him go. This year, Rodgers spent most of the offseason due to COVID learning via Zoom all the offense, backwards and forwards, and then started figuring out, here's how I can, add a little bit, and here's what we can do to be successful. And he bought into it. And this is what you see.
7-3 Packers after one. What was your takeaway from the first quarter?
Packers are having their way. This kind of reminds me of the Bear game, kind of. The Packers are just going down the field. And very efficient on offense, running up the middle, passing to the flanks. And they just have an extra weapon. And this does have a feel of 2011, where you would send all his 4 wideouts and look for the worst matchup and then pick on that. Here's This is a good defense. This is Brian Burns is a good player. Burns was from, I think, Florida State, and that was the Packers' other pick after Gary. Oh, he missed it. The backside, the running back was wide open, but he just couldn't see it.
3rd and goal, still no sign of Jamal Williams. Oh, is he going to rush for this one too? Back-to-back weeks with a rushing touchdown, Aaron Rodgers. How about that?
After that Tampa Bay play at the goal line, you just hold your breath. But hey, this is big. You're getting to the point where if you can shut down Bridgewater on a 3 and out or something similar, and you can defeat them, they're going to realize they have no shot. Now that was a man-to-man defense because everybody had the entire secondary had their backs turned guarding a guy. That's when the Packers used to play nothing but man. They used to play Philadelphia, and the quarterback in Philadelphia would run and run and run, and Michael Vick would just, when they played Atlanta, Donovan McNabb was the guy's name, and then Tampa Bay would always crush Michael Vick. Why would they do that? They'd play 2 deep zone, and the linebackers would simply drop back about 5 yards and wait for Vick to run up to the line, and then they would tattoo him. If you play man-to-man, it can be effective if you have a Lynn Dickey or a slow type quarterback. So that drive was 13 plays, 75 yards, 648, including an extra 15 yards for the effort due to the penalty.
That now brings the total time of possession to 10 minutes-ish to 5-ish minutes, I would assume.
Yeah, let's check on that. It is, 10, good call. 10:31 for the Packers, 5:20 for Carolina. Carolina's got some young legs, so it won't be until the 3rd quarter where they're going to maybe start gassing. But you look at the Packers, here it is. We're 1 minute into the 2nd quarter. Aaron Jones, 7 rushes, 83 yards. Aaron Rodgers, 8 for 11 for 60 yards and a touchdown. And Adams is 3 for 29. So interesting.
And Tunyon with the touchdown. Got to add Tunyon. It's becoming a fan favorite of mine.
Yeah, Tunyon. Yep.
So, John, an interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
In defense, Chin has three tackles. Chin's their best player. Chin and Burns, we talked about them in the pregame.
Yeah.
Burns has 3 tackles also. And for the Packers, Adrian Amos, when the team approached Pettin, the defensive coordinator, and said, turn the dogs loose, they also brought both safeties up a little bit more in the box to help against the run. So Amos is making more plays, and both Amos and Savage can blitz. So that's interesting there. The Packers are on a trend up. You just stay clear of injuries. I'm looking at first downs. Green Bay 9, Carolina 2.
I know a lot of people think that the Packers are hitting their peak too early, but I'm not sure. I'm a little scared by the strength of schedule. I think Tennessee will be a good indicator of where this team really is next week, and even Chicago, they've been playing a little bit better. So week 17, but I don't know. I feel like this team could be even better. I think the defense, like you said, is trending up. I don't think they've plateaued. Do you think that they're still trending up, or are you scared that they might be hitting their peak too early?
I think they're trending up, and I also am interested to see if Anthony Rush plays today, because that's the 6'4", 360-pound defensive tackle they picked up. And what you want to do is have him stuff the run. And that offensive line for Tennessee is terrific. But again, the best run stuffer the Packers have is Aaron Rodgers' efficiency. Because at 14-3, you're not going to be able to establish the run. Well, maybe you can.
Yeah, Savage just got run over by Mike Davis there. So, John, an interesting thing in between the Packers and Panthers is that their first meeting came in an NFC Championship game, just the second season into the Panthers. Um, uh, what should I call it? Time in the league. They were founded in 1995, but they were coached by the Packers' old defensive coordinator Dom Capers, and the Packers won 30-13. You have an interesting story about that game back in January of 1997, where the Packers went on to the Super Bowl that year. What is that story?
Well, I've been into a lot of happy locker rooms, but usually they're the winning team. This was the happiest locker room I ever went to where there was a losing team. And Carolina, they were just happy to be there. They upset Dallas the week before, and Dallas was the team that Green Bay couldn't beat. And Carolina beat them, and Dallas was nicked up that year. And Green Bay was playing really well. And so I went down to the locker room, and they were just, what a year we had, and they're all kind of hugging, and they were happy for the Packers, we're happy for us, and whatever. And I remember going up to Sam Mills, the late Sam Mills, who unfortunately died of cancer a few years after that. He was, they always called him on ESPN, Chris Berman called him the little church mouse, who was about 5'10", but he just hit like a truck. And we were talking about a touchdown play that the Packers scored their final touchdown on, and it was a play that Edgar Bennett ran over the right guard, and there was a hole that was just huge. And it was about a 3-yard run. And Jim Irwin had the final famous call. They just handed it off to Edgar Bennett, and he went through a hole big enough to drive a truck to the Super Bowl through. And that was the one that put the 30th point on the board, and the Packers knew that they were in really good shape for the game. And I asked Sam Mills about scouting the Green Bay Packers, and he gave interesting insight. He said the interesting thing about that touchdown play is I looked at film for the whole year, and in that lineup, Favre comes up to the line of scrimmage, and William Henderson was the lead fullback, and he was a little bit farther to the left. And Edgar Bennett was lined up on the right. And in the 20 plays that they ran that play, every time Favre turned to his left, handed it off to Bennett, who followed Henderson over left guard. So he said that Favre's calling off the signals. I'm recognizing the play. I'm screaming out an adjustment. And we leave the right guard, and I went over and we moved over to the left guard. And Favre, instead of turning left, turns right, and Edgar Bennett runs straight over the guard for a touchdown into a huge hole. And and I said, well, what does that mean to you? And he said, what that means to me is how good of a coach Mike Holmgren and his staff are, because they self-scout and they look at their own tendencies. And that was a tendency, obviously we saw it, and obviously they saw it too. So every time they ran behind a lead block by William Henderson, this time Favre turned the other way and went right over, and there was no blocking. It was a naked block. So that always stuck with me. But Kevin Green, the future Packer coach, assistant coach, he was the star linebacker, defensive end for them. Are they calling a bad hit? Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're going to get him for head-to-head on Kevin King.
That's always a tough thing, and I sympathize with the defensive player because those offensive players are moving, and he looked like he was moving down a little bit.
Through the air, the Packers have defended it pretty well, other than that DJ Moore remarkable 34-yard catch. Carolina's been moving the ball mostly on the ground, so you were right. If Rodgers can keep putting up points, they're not going to be able to run the ball anymore. So eventually they're going to start having to throw the ball downfield. There's a nice pass to Curtis Samuel. This defense, JD, I think it's been criticized more than it should have this year. A lot of people saying they can't stop anybody, but they've had 6 games where they've given up 21 or less points, which in today's NFL, where scoring is higher than it's probably been in a long time. I think they're a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. What do you think?
Well, there is no defense in the NFL anymore. I mean, if you know the Steel Curtain and Doomsday from Dallas, Steel Curtain of the '70s for Pittsburgh, they're just the Packers. The Packers defense in 1996 would be number one in the NFL. There just aren't really good defenses because it's an offensive league. But if you go through the points the Packers have given up, you got to be sure and take out the punt return touchdowns. Or if in Tampa Bay, Rodgers had a bunch of turnovers, the interception return, and Tampa Bay was playing on a short field.
And one was a pick six, I believe, and the other one was inside the 10.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny that they get run over. That's why I'm interested to see if they can bring Rush into this, because I've watched tapes of him and he just jacks offensive linemen, and maybe they're just worried that he's going to be getting trapped or whatever. But so this drive now is 9 plays, 60 yards, 502.
And I do think the run defense needs work, but I haven't noticed quarterbacks just carving up their defense through the air. I mean, maybe I'm just not remembering all the games and they haven't played the best quarterbacks, but I can't remember a team just carving them up through the air every single week or every single play.
Well, and the other thing to note is that Kevin King has missed about 6 games, and Alexander, I think, missed 2 with a concussion. So they've been, but their DBs, when they get hurt, they plug them and play just like seems like the offensive linemen. Here's a 4th and 1. This will be an interesting call.
They're going to go for it. Oh, boy. Yikes.
Yeah, there's one thing about the Smith brothers. They can rush the passer, but they don't seem to be very stout against the run.
Oh my goodness. I know you're a little behind me, but my goodness.
Wow. Look, get him, go. Hey, good. Oh.
I can't believe they had 1st and goal from the inch-yard line. Man, just hand that off to Mike Davis. He's been getting at least 4 or 5 yards a carry.
Now, right now, Kevin King's agent is saying, oh, no. They're going to say he's not a 4-4 guy.
Now, hopefully he doesn't get in on this reach before. No, that ball's out.
No, there's no way he got in on that.
Man, I can't believe they did a jumping quarterback sneak on 1st and goal.
Wow, that was, that was a heck of a play by Barnes. And Barnes has really had a nice year. So is Martin. It bodes well for the future that the Packers have 2 middle linebackers like that. I'm going to go for one. I'm just going to go for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, that doesn't help King as a free agent, I don't think. But what a play by, obviously they scouted it out, but what a play by Chris Barnes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Chris Barnes. When you're looking at this draft, the Packers don't have immediate gratification drafts. They just don't, except for every now and then you get a player like Jenkins playing in the offensive line last year, and he's like Randall McDaniel from day one. He's just a future Hall of Fame player. from day one. And even Bakhtiari has told them, if you keep your head on right and your attitude right, you're going to make a lot of money in this league. Because he's so versatile, he plays all. But adding Chris Barnes and Kamel Martin, they show flashes that, and those sixth round offensive linemen that they took, Runyon and Stepanek. Stepanek is just a real badass, and I'm wondering, a physical guy that is kind of outside the mold of what they have. He's on the roster now. I think they deactivated him today. I don't know if he'll play this year, but just watching him, when the offensive tackle for Indiana would hold up a guy and he didn't have anybody to block, he would just put his shoulder pad into the guy's ribs and knock him over. It wasn't anything dirty where he'd go down on the knee or something. But I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often.
As far as balls getting knocked out when quarterbacks go for that, or
yeah.
I know Drew Brees likes to do it a lot in New Orleans, where he'll jump up and do it. But I think Cam Newton's more of a just get behind the center and push his way in rather than jumping. It's way less risky to do that than try to throw it over the goal line and bring it back.
I think it's about to be MVS time.
Oh. Thought that might have been a horse collar.
He's giving him the evil eye. It's like
they did throw a flag, but I didn't see a flag over in that direction. Ooh, that's a ugly fall by Rodgers.
Take the penalty.
This is the Pip and Dodds Packers podcast featuring Michael Rachel, which is me. Glad to be here with all of you and John Dodds. A couple of our sponsors, PCI, Professional Construction, Inc. Since 2004, they've been serving its community, striving to create an unparalleled experience through exceptional client communication, a family-centered culture, and a team of experts ready to take on any project. Frederick Packaging for Milwaukee, a new golf simulator bar located on Water Street in downtown Milwaukee. I haven't played golf in a couple of months since it's been cold. John, have you hit the range since the snow's fallen?
I've not. I'm not that good of a golfer. I'm a scramble guy. I went out with Pip and Homer this year for a charitable outing and had a great time. I've been to 4 before, and it's just great. It's the driving range with the video boards, and it's a bar, restaurant. You can have a pizza. You can have interesting. It's just fun to be at. You can golf some of the best golf courses in the world.
And they're currently running last-minute gift specials with gift cards and winter golf leagues. Ooh, a golf league. That sounds fun. Be interesting to do a simulator golf league with some friends. And then Elephantly Collective, our marketing group, helping us with our web design, full stack developers, graphic designers, and content curators. And of course, DJ's Goalpost, Don Matovich over at DJ's on Appleton Avenue in Menominee Falls. It has probably the best sports memorabilia of any bar in town. I would put it up against anything. Great burgers, great fries. And, once COVID opens up, they've got billiards tables going as well. It's a lot of cool things in DJ's Goalpost in Menominee Falls.
If you just saw the Kurt Warner interview or the comment where they refer to Kurt Warner when he was with the Packers just for training camp before they cut him. And then he went to begging groceries, I think, in some small town in Iowa. But the toughest thing, their booth is outdoors. They've opened up the booth, and that was the toughest thing for me to get used to, working with Wayne and Larry. When I'm trying to be a statistician watching things, put the glass down. This is cold weather. This is the NFC North. But they kept it open because the sound is so much better when the window is open. That he is such a quick guy with unreal vision, but they're using him too much tonight. He's got 101 in 10 carries. but you got to get him ready for the playoffs. But he hits that hole, and he's a really short guy, and he's hard to see. It's hard to, if you're a linebacker, you lose track of him, and you think he's starting off one way, and then you kind of get lost in the trash, and then he's zooming out the other way.
We still have not seen Jamal Williams back for the Packers since midway in the first quarter. You'd think if Packers score here, you got to see a little bit of A.J. Dillon eventually if Jamal Williams can't come back, or throw somebody else in the backfield, because you're right. I mean, if Jones is going to carry the ball today for 25 times, that's just not good.
The time of possession, that was a big drive by Carolina. It's 13-18 Green Bay, 12 minutes Carolina. So it's virtually even. And this drive is big for the Packers. If they could get a touchdown, that's a 14-point swing.
Good timing for that reference from you, John, as Aaron Jones is going to high step it into the end zone. It might have been a flag. I don't think so. No, it's going to be a touchdown. The graphic came up that both Carolina and Green Bay have they average the longest drives out of anybody in the NFL. They're 1 and 2. So it's interesting that Carolina is a team that likes to take a lot of time off the clock as well. But Aaron Jones, seems like it's been very easy for him today. Great blocking on the left side from everybody.
You just can't see him. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Everybody in the back, they just can't see him. Their pet play last year was they get inside the 5, and they would line him up maybe toward the right hash mark over the right guard. And then Rodgers would get the ball, and then he would turn to his right, hand it to him, and he would then go one step forward and then cut to his left and go inside the left guard, kind of in the A gap, and nobody could see him. And he would dart right through, and it's very Emmitt Smith-like. Emmitt Smith wasn't very fast, but he was super quick. And the linemen for the Dallas Cowboys in the early 90s, they were so big that they couldn't see Emmitt Smith. And by the time they knew where he was sprinting past the linebacker level. It was that quick. So that was really a terrific drive. That was 7 plays, 47 yards, 431. So 21-3. So now you can kind of eschew, as Howard Cosell would say, eschew the run, defending the run, and now you can really get back and rush the passer.
See, Andrew Grogan has joined. He's in Buddy the Elf's little cave there with the new Giannis jersey after he signs the Supermax. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great. You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
What are you thinking so far? 21-3. Yeah, I've still got his poster right here. We're happy, signed the Supermax. But what do you think about the Packers up 21-3?
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to ruin something perfect. I didn't want to ruin something so great, so I thought I'd wait to a nice, solid lead right there.
Rodgers just throwing the ball 12 times, JD. 12 carries for Aaron Jones, 15 in the game. I don't know, super efficient once again for the Packers.
Yep, it's Aaron Jones, 12 carries, 114. Devontae Adams, 4 catches, 35. And so Aaron Jones has 14 carries. So we'll definitely, I think, see. And the big plus, if they can win this one, you got an extra day of rest to prepare for Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That's big at this time of the year. And and a team you can jack yourself up to stop the run. A bad running team can do that, but in a week, you just can't do it over a 17-week period. Good shades by.
In Tennessee, they play Detroit tomorrow, and then they'll come to Green Bay next week for a road game. There's a nice return by Carolina. That Tennessee game next week, I think that's going to be a good one. It's going to be tough to stop Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill has been very good as well. He's not going to beat you long or that, but he doesn't make mistakes either, which is important as an NFL quarterback to just not turn the ball over at times. So we'll see if the Packers can get the ball back. There's 3:53 left. Packers will get it to start the second half, have 2 timeouts. Carolina's kind of in a sticky position. I mean, they've got to go for the – oh, boy. That was forward, too, I think. Is that Curtis Samuel with his second? Yeah, that was second drop from him in a similar play than we saw in the first quarter. Ooh, that one's closer.
Yeah, it's still forward, though, I think.
Yeah. What's a direct line? Is that considered backwards or forwards if it's direct?
It's considered backwards. But I think it was just a little bit forward. This is we're getting into Music City Miracle territory here.
Did you guys talk about the gold zone that they've been referring to, the Packer players?
Have not. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So what it is, it's based on Goldmember, the movie that's with Austin Powers. And they've been just like getting a kick out of it, changing it to it, and they're kind of goofing off. The players all call it that. They want to get Myers to like come in to the facility and say hi. I guess Rodgers has been talking about it for a while. Tunion's been talking about it, so they call it the gold zone when they get in the red zone.
You know, I hate to be paranoid, but you almost hate to have an outsider come into your facility.
With COVID going on, especially, yep.
Yeah.
You would think so, yeah.
Good stop by the Packers defense. They're going to give over 3 minutes back to Aaron Rodgers. Now we'll see the Packers try to milk some clock and then punch it in at the end, although milking clock would require Aaron Jones to probably have 5 or 6 more carries if Jamal Williams is still out. So playing with a little bit of fire here. I'd like to see Tavon Austin return one. Won't be that one. Oh, no. That was close to Malik Taylor. That was really close.
Well, we'll see. No hiding it on replay.
Yeah, one of the Panthers defenders thought it hit him because he was pushing him in to run to the end zone, but nobody else really reacted as if it hit him. Tough angle for us. Kind of looked like he might have got it from our angle, but guess not.
Yeah, the J.K. Scott is the Maytag repairman tonight. He's sitting there alone, and if maybe they should, to punish him, they should put him on kickoff return team, maybe, or kickoff coverage team, just to practice those tackles. But say, Andrew, why don't you give us a minute on to describe Elephantly and what you do.
Oh, sure. I just want to tell Michael, hey, doing a great job over there.
Well, thank you. Doing my best. Pip, obviously, a lot of big shoes to fill, but
Pip is on assignment.
Yes.
He's on assignment. And just so you know, the coach Hackett is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathaniel.
He loves Austin Powers, the movie, so much. That's why they called it the Gold Zone. So
okay.
He loves Goldmember, the guy, his role in that one.
Right.
I don't know. It's pretty funny. But anyway, Elephantly, a lot of cool things. This is why I got this here, actually. Got this as a gift from one of our cool clients that works with Jordan Brand. Yeah, Elephantly, we do a lot of great things. We're doing applications from mobile applications to user experience online when it comes to websites, all the way down to SEO, which is search engine optimization. We just take on projects where, when we see something where we know that we can help the brand grow, and in our eyes, we see everyone as a brand, whether it be your individual, entrepreneur, and here in Paris, you get a little more clothing brands and fashion brands. So we're always up for a new project, and it's been a lot of fun this year. It's been a tough year, overall out there, but it's directed more people to focus on their online experience. So it's been a busy time, but also, a chance to do a lot of cool things.
How did you end up in France? How did you end up in France?
There were a few projects. I was in San Francisco at the time, and one project led to another and just kind of ended up being about 50-50 after a while with different brands here. It's interesting how startups in San Francisco can relate pretty well to how brands want to be creative when it comes to fashion brands. And that's kind of what happened out here. And in France, I felt like they were like a half a step just behind a little bit when it came to like when the internet was really booming. So that kind of gave a little push there. And there is this kind of idea that they think Americans work a little harder. I don't know what that is, but that kind of helps sometimes too, being out here.
Boy, we get a rare kind of a drop, although that's a tough catch in colder weather. That ball is slick in Lambeau. I think Rodgers is kind of angry at himself for not putting it in more accurately, but Adams is probably mad at himself for not catching it.
Adams wasted about 30 to 45 styrofoam cups on that play too. Knocked them right over out of their wrapping. So hopefully he'll get the bill for about $10 on that one. We'll see.
Lazard is just made that catch. LaFleur said that they have him on a pitch count. He hurt that core muscle on that long catch against New Orleans at the beginning of the year, and so they're being real careful with him. But he's getting better each week.
JD, something I'm just noticing now is in between the hash marks, the grass looks a little more green. Do they repair the in between the hash marks more than? Well, I guess they would because all the players are in the hash marks more than that.
It's where it gets worn down.
Do you know what they do to
like
that?
A putting green or something. It looks way nicer.
Do they patch it up or do they grow more? Do you know?
Yeah, they are real careful with how they do that because it's a synthetic 50% artificial turf, 50% grass, and then they have a sand base and then really good drainage below it. And they don't allow any media or anyone to go on it at all any time because or fans who want to drop their ashes of their dead great uncle or there's Corey Dillon.
AJ Dillon, there he is.
Corey Dillon. AJ Dillon. Yeah, there we go.
He almost broke that. That was a good run by him.
Well, when he played, I can't remember the game. Was it at Minnesota? It was a game earlier this year. I'll have to think back. I thought he was, maybe it was Detroit in Lambeau. I thought he did a real nice job catching the ball. And so he's built like William Henderson, but he might have a little bit more shimmy and more running ability than William Henderson. William Henderson was a guard who was had a fullback's number. And William Henderson jacked someone in every play. Unfortunately, that's why he's having some memory issues now. Had some health issues in the last 6 months to a year. So we wish him the best. One of the great guys of Packer football.
John, you brought up the size of Aaron Jones, and I always knew he was small, but you don't really realize it as much when Jamal Williams is offsetting him. But there, when AJ Dillon, you see how big AJ Dillon is. It really puts into perspective how small Aaron Jones is. AJ Dillon looks like a big boy.
Yeah, don't overwork Aaron Jones. That's my warning because, I take that from a Milwaukee Bucks fan that watched the Bucks milk everything they could out of Sidney Moncrief during the regular season. And then in the playoffs, he'd be kind of worn down a little bit from a long year. You can't do that. You're peaking these guys for the playoffs. And remember how fresh Starks was in 2011. He came out of nowhere when Ryan Grant and they were losing running backs right and left. I think Fisher might have been gone. He was on the team then. And they had Jackson kind of their pickup blocking back. And then they had Starks come off the PUP list. and he had fresh legs, and he really took him home the last 6 weeks, last 6 games of the year. I wonder if Corey, I want to call him Corey. I wonder if
AJ
Dillon can do that. He's got fresh legs, and this could be an interesting night. And let Aaron Jones enjoy it from the sidelines. And I think Drew Rosenhaus would agree with me.
Andrew, since you are still here, I'm going to ask you a question because John already mentioned it towards the beginning of the show. Talking MVP, this is Blake from Milwaukee. And John, you can add to this after Andrew puts his 2 cents in. Blake says MVP, MVP, MVP has been the talk of the week with Aaron versus Patrick, the State Farm brothers. It appears close, but Aaron seemed to have much to say about his feelings on winning the award. Does it surprise you or concern you that he's talking this way with still 3 games left in the regular season? Andrew, what do you think?
Well, first, I believe he's going to win MVP, and I've been saying that since the second game of the season, if you recall. So I'm very excited about that. But I think he's when everyone was talking about Wilson, I recall. But I think he's just a different Aaron Rodgers this year, and he doesn't care. He seems to be very open when he speaks and giving his opinion and him talking about it. I don't think it bothers me. You can tell today how he's playing, and I think that's just Aaron Rodgers. I mean, when he's like that and he's got something to prove, and he usually, just like how he used to say, relax and run the table, it kind of makes you think of those days, and those are pretty good days when he did that.
And there's Rodgers getting sacked for the first time tonight. What is that on the year now? 16, 17, something like that. Protected him very well.
I think so.
And that one, it seemed like he had time, then it just collapsed so quickly on him where he couldn't get out of the pocket.
Yeah, the guy who failed on that play was Turner, the right guard, but Turner's been a great year. I mean, you can't fault the guy. He's been playing tackle impeccably. He played left tackle. I didn't see that one coming when Bakhtiari was hurt for those 4 games or whatever, and amazing. So this could be the first Packer punt coming here. So this is where they miss a guy like Jamal Williams because he can pick up the blitz.
Big 3rd and 20, see if you can get a free play. Doesn't get it.
We'll see if Tunyon ships on the defensive. Oh, they kept Tunyon in.
So the 41 will bring up a 4th and about 11, I believe.
So it's a 57-yard field goal, 58-yard field goal.
Yeah.
They'll probably punt it.
We saw Mason, I think it was 58 was that last week against Detroit?
Well, remember,
in a dome.
Remember, they're getting the kickoff back in the second half, so you don't have to go crazy here.
Right.
Huh.
It is concerning not to see Jamal Williams back. I'm not sure what the extent of the injury is, but I'm assuming it was a leg injury if he was limping off.
That getting back to that Rodgers issue. The funny thing is how Favre-like this is. Last week, at the end of the game, he's posing for pictures at Detroit. He's signing stuff. That's all Favre did his last few years was sign uniforms for the opponent player, pose for pictures. I mean, and you play it really well because you go up to Warren Sapp and you shake his hand and you be friends with him. So you want Warren Sapp is still going to jack you, but he's not going to jack you to hurt you or jack you unreasonably, because you don't want to be the guy that jacks Aaron Rodgers. You're going to be so.
Well, yeah, Anthony Barr knows that one too well. It feels like everybody hated him that year. What was that, dislocated Rodgers' shoulder?
Yeah, that was a borderline one, but it's always good to have the defenders come in there respecting you and thinking, geez, if I give him a cheap shot, he won't give me that sign in my den. Can't underestimate the value of that.
It's weird that sometimes they bring it up like mid-game too, where it's like in between a timeout and they'll be like, "Hey, can I get that jersey signed after this game?" It's like heat of the battle, and they're just trying to be buddy with each other. It's kind of weird to see.
Well, they all have the same agents, and there's a lot more familiarity with guys. Oh, they're going to punt. That's good. You're going to get the ball back and work on your directional punting, and or just drill the thing between the uprights, and ask the referee if he can get a point for that.
I think I'd be okay with that rule change. I think that'd be pretty cool. See a punt through the upright. Could drop kick it, right? Drop kicking would be.
Yeah, you could drop.
That's 3.
You could drop kick it, but unfortunately, if you miss it, it goes back to the place you kicked it.
I think the Patriots converted a drop kick.
Yeah,
in my lifetime.
Doug Flutie. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, J.K. Scott. One of his better ones of the year.
You see the slip? He caught it and slipped. It's like an ice rink. Kind of a free kick story or a kick story. 1996, to tell you what a great athlete Jim McMahon was. He's the backup quarterback for the Packers, and gosh, I don't know other than a couple of kneel downs have even played that year, or if it was garbage time or something. But he was the backup kicker to Chris Jackie, but he kicked soccer style, and he kicked drop kick wise. He could drop kick a 47-yard field goal.
Jeez.
From soccer style. But why don't you maybe get the guy out of bounds there? Yeah, DJ Moore, that's a guy with size and
yeah, to only give up 3 points so far to this Carolina team, as we mentioned, that has a lot of weapons. Obviously, McCaffrey's out, but Mike Davis has been pretty good in his replacement. So to only give up 3 points feels like a job well done by the Packers. Obviously, still 1 possession to go here. There's a good breakup by, I think that was Adrian Amos.
Yeah, Bridgewater is a good quarterback, but not a great quarterback. He's not the most accurate guy, but the fact that he's playing is amazing. After that knee injury, that was they brought the ambulance right to the place where it was just a center snap, and I think the guard in the drill they were doing came back and bent his leg. It was hitting the guard.
Oh, and he's had 2, I think, right? Because one was just a torn ACL on a non-contact, I think, and then that one was the more scary one.
It's interesting. If they have 2 timeouts left, if they can stop them on this play, and I know that over the last 20 years, the worst, most frustrating thing for a Packer fan is what the Packers are doing at the end of the second quarter. It seems like if it could be 3rd and 38, you call timeout to get a punt and gain 39 yards on a draw play or something. But
back-to-back great pass deflections by Amos and Shannon Sullivan on that one. And there's the stop. How about Adrian Amos on that drive? Now you got 2 timeouts. You're getting the ball back with a minute to go. Wow.
I was cleaning out my DVR. My DVR is 6 years old now. And I said, what is this? And I turned it on, and it was the 2016 Packer Bear game when it was tie score and Rodgers threw the bomb at the end in the cold weather to Jordy Nelson, and he caught the ball, and then they downed it and they kicked a field goal in the next play to win the game at the gun. And who was making all these great plays for Chicago? Adrian Amos during the game.
All right, so they're going to have to go probably 30 yards to get in a field goal range about.
Yeah, this is
plenty of time. I
yeah,
think the touchdown is still in the cards as well. 2 timeouts, still a minute to go. Can use the whole field.
yeah, this is where deferring just opens up the whole wealth of options for you, because you get the ball, you know you're going to get the ball back to start the third quarter. And what you do now, you can, and they have 1 timeout. So as long as you don't give up a sack, get somebody hurt, or a turnover.
Jamal Williams questionable to return with a leg injury.
Oh.
So questionable, you would think, isn't a serious injury necessarily, since he's questionable to return and not ruled out already, but something to monitor.
Andrew, quick question for you. Is he still up there?
I believe he is, yeah.
Oh. Andrew, tell us about 4.
Oh, for Milwaukee. Yes. Yeah. It's great for if you're going to work on your golf game. I mean, I've been there before where you just practice. There's pros that use it. I mean, Tiger Woods is one that uses it. I know that Spieth has one too. So it's definitely up there with the ability to, at the highest level, to compare yourself, in a winter time if you're going to practice. So that's one thing you can do at 4. Otherwise, if you just want to have fun with friends, like you mentioned earlier, the groups, you can just go out there and hack it if you really want. I mean, the cool thing is if you hit a really bad shot, you don't have to go walk and get it in the woods. And you get to go play Pebble Beach and things like that. And the graphics are really impressive. So yeah, it's fun. It's a fun place to do that. There's also a hoop fever there, which I like. Ping pong. I don't know if there's a pool table anymore. There used to be it's been a couple years since I've hung out there. But, it's tough right now during COVID, but hopefully, things get a little better now as we round the corner and have a new year. So I think maybe it'll be a fun place in the wintertime again.
Not a good start to the drive for the Packers. Rodgers takes a sack on first down. Oh, good work by Adams there. 21 seconds to go. 2 timeouts is a flag.
Are we holding Packers?
Yeah, personal foul would be nice though.
Did you guys talk about what fans are there today? I heard it's nurses or frontline workers. They let like 250 fans to the game.
John, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it was family members and first responders, I believe.
Okay.
What's the status on fans the rest of the I know the rest of the season they said no more fans, but what about playoffs? Have they said anything about that?
I think it's going to be the same. Unless they can show vaccines, or if they brought them or have them. There's supposed to be 25 million vaccines ready to go with the second vaccine. Yeah, 21 seconds. Well, they're going to try.
Second 23. Maybe you get a big chunk play here. You'll go for it. That's a pretty good play. Make it 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10.
Still have 2 timeouts left, so you can go over the middle.
Mm-hmm. Save one for the kick, hopefully.
I think you might want to go MVS on a hitch and go.
I don't think – has he caught a ball today?
He has not.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Adams is 5 for 38. Lazard 3 for 30. And Tunyon is 2 for 8.
Oh boy, is he gonna? Oh, Lazard. Man,
Shades of Jared Cook in Dallas.
It did, but he was wide open there. Oh my goodness. And where would that have been? 35? Man, that's one you got to have.
I guess he's been working with MVS, and that's what happens, I guess.
Yeah, MVS is probably saying, hey, did you see that? Did you see that, guys? That wasn't me. All right. Put some hang time on this. Don't want to see a return.
Just don't get it blocked.
Oh, did they not even put a returner back? I think they just sent everybody.
You got a freebie inside the 20. Nice 55-yard punt.
21-3 Packers lead it. What do you think? Take a break for halftime here?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. 21-3 Packers lead it. You're watching the Pip and Dodds Packers podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pippin Dodds Packers podcast featuring me, Michael, Rachel, Andrew Grogan with us as well from the Elephantly marketing team. Tom Pippins is not with us this week. He is spending the weekend with family celebrating the holiday. He'll be back with us next week, so I'm filling in. Leading the point, Packers lead at 21-3, John. What was your main takeaway from that first half?
This reminds me of the Bear game. They're very efficient. They're going down the field. They only had the punt toward the end of the two punts and the last two drives. If they can just keep the focus, they can end this, and we can see A.J. Dillon for most of the second half.
AJ Dillon, just with that one carry we saw towards the end of the half, 18 yards, looked really solid on that. Aaron Jones has been the story of the first half for the offense of Green Bay. 12 carries, 114 yards, a rushing touchdown, along with his one reception, 9 yards. But JD, you mentioned it in the first half. You're a little worried about the usage so far.
Yeah, I am. Without Jamal Williams, that's a problem. Jamal Williams is the kind of the old Edgar Bennett type. He can do a lot of different things, pick up the blitz, does the dirty work, can block, can run hard between the tackles. But that's what they have Dillon here for. So let's see what he can do. But don't overuse Aaron Jones. Just take the second half, go down and score and end this. Now, last year they had a whole bunch of these types of games where they got off to big leads. I remember the Denver game and the Chicago Bear game up in Lambeau where they had big leads and then kind of fell asleep in the third quarter and had to kind of pull it out at the end. So let's see if they're smarter this year, make it easier on themselves. Just go down, score a touchdown, and end this baby.
Devontae Adams has had a lower production first half than we're used to. He's thrown up over 100 yards in basically every game that I can remember this year. First half, just 5 receptions for 38 yards, no touchdowns for him. He comes in with that 8-game streak of recording a touchdown. Do you think he finds the end zone in the second half, John?
I think he does. I think they already ran a couple of plays for him. I know that there was they had him in a jet sweep motion and they were going to try to isolate him, but Carolina was wise to it, and they have a lot of team speed at linebacker and at safety and DB. It was the run by Aaron Jones that completely fooled them. They didn't see him, and by the time they saw him, it was too late. He was out in the flat and in the end zone.
Rodgers will come back on the field with a 21-3 lead. 10 of the 13 games this season, he's had 3 or more touchdowns. He's just got 1 today. Obviously, he has the rushing touchdown as well. So we'll see if he's able to get in the end zone. But the offense, it feels like it's humming along like it has been the last couple of weeks. Everyone seems to be in their groove. We'll see if Jamal Williams can come back. He's got that lower leg injury. He's questionable to return, but you'd like to see him come back.
Yeah, he won't come back. They're not going to risk it.
And that means more work for Aaron Jones.
Yep. And possibly Dillon.
Andrew, what were your takeaways from the first half?
I mean, this is what makes you feel. I mean, it's comfortable, feels nice, but again, it makes you think of last year, like John was saying. We've done this before. We've had these leads, but hopefully we've learned this year. We'll have to see.
That's Andrew Grogan, the head of our marketing team at Elephantly Collective, a creative and multi-talented team composed of web designers, full-stack developers, and graphic designers. Devontae Adams with a drop. He got hit hard over the middle. John, you were talking about how this Carolina defense has been playing pretty well. Do you think this is a team that could be good in the next 4 or 5 years, and they're just not quite where they need to be, but the future seems bright for this Carolina team?
I think it does, and especially the Washington football team. They have high draft picks in that front 7, and they are impressive. And I want no part of the Packers playing them first game in the playoffs.
That's going to be 3-0. It was intended for MVS. You've been calling for a deep shot to MVS. They finally do it, but it's incomplete. Good stand from Carolina. And Matt Rule is their first year head coach at Carolina. He was at Baylor. They started 1-11 in 2017. It took them just 2 years. They won 11-3 and went to a New Year's Day bowl game. So it was a lot of controversy when they fired Ron Rivera, who's known to be a really good head coach in the league, but they moved on from him. Matt Rule's done a nice job. Obviously, they've not won many games as of late, but they're still playing some pretty good football.
Yeah, they are. They have some talent, and their best back isn't playing. So that's the third consecutive drive that ends in a punt, I believe.
Yeah, another short punt by J.K. Scott. You're talking about Adrian Amos towards the end of the first half. What do you see compared to what he was like in Chicago? You said that game where Jordy Nelson threw the dagger in Chicago, that he was making a lot of good plays. Do you think he's as good as he was in Chicago?
I think he is. He's slower, but he's a better veteran. He's more wily. He's got more experience. They're using him correctly. You know, it's unfortunate. You know, you wish you could go back and do this draft again, because there's two players that one of them is Jeremy Chin, but the other one is Claypool, the wide receiver from Pittsburgh. And I think if they had to do it again, they loved both of those guys. But then I think Matt LaFleur must have thought after that San Francisco game that we have to get some toughness, and we have to get a running back that can really carry the mail, and then get the tight end that we can use on the flanks in DeGuara. So that's what they used in the second and third rounds, and I think they might have reached around for each of them. I think possibly Dylan might have been available a little bit later, but you never know. You can't, hindsight's 2020, and it's speculation. But you would have liked to have had more immediate contributions from this draft class. Like, this Chin is just fantastic. He's made plays tonight, number 21, and he's leading them with 5 tackles right now. Amos has 5 tackles for Green Bay.
You brought up earlier you don't want to see the Washington football team in the playoffs. So we have a question here, Danny G from Mequon, along those lines. And he asks, who do you see as our biggest threat in the NFC? I still feel off after that Tampa loss, even though they haven't played as well of late. Seattle always seems like a threat. What are your thoughts on each of the top teams versus our Green Bay Packers come playoff time?
Well, that's where the bye comes in, and it would be fantastic, because I think the biggest threat is the Los Angeles Rams. They're the best. They have the best player on defense in the defensive line. And they're just speedy, and they're solid. They have good wide receivers and a decent offensive line. I would love to have New Orleans play the Rams. And then I would love in that first week to see Tampa Bay play someone, so they're not in Green Bay's bracket. So I think in one scenario, I thought that if they had a bye, I'll have to go through that scenario again, but it was if they finish with the seeds of Green Bay, New Orleans, Rams, Tampa Bay, and then Washington, and then Arizona, I think it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing Seattle. So if you have a scenario like that, it would be the first week would be New Orleans plays Arizona. And then, let's see.
Washington would be the 4 seed because
Washington would be the 4th seed. Okay.
Yep.
So then Tampa and Seattle and Arizona would be the wild cards, because you have 7.
Yeah.
New Orleans against Arizona, possibly the Rams playing Seattle, and Tampa Bay playing Washington. I think that's some scenario. And then depending on how that goes, they reseed it going forward. But I like the fact that that I want the Rams and New Orleans to play each other before they play the Packers.
Yeah, and in that scenario, you're hoping Arizona can pull off an upset too, so that they have to come up to Lambeau in the second round. That'd be the ideal situation.
Yeah,
There
but
was a
yeah, and but having a bye and not playing both New Orleans and the Rams, to me, that's bigger than home field. But home field will come with the bye.
John, do you fear Tampa after that game, or do you feel like they kind of sizzled out?
I think they fizzled out a little bit, and I think Green Bay was coming in after a bye. Boy, Barnes
defense, back-to-back plays. Chris Barnes on this one, Adrian Amos on the last hit on Teddy Bridgewater. They're fired up, as you mentioned earlier. I know a lot of Packers fans throughout the whole season, we want to see this Packers defense hit hard. Here you go.
Yeah. Barnes smelled that one off. Kenny Clark is really active too. Kenny Clark the last couple of weeks has been all over. So if they stay healthy, I think they're slow but surely getting in there. Look how wide the Smith brothers are.
And this defense looks fired up. This is good to see. It's almost like, for them, it's almost a little bit like a playoff atmosphere, right? You have to win out if you want that 1 seed, most likely, unless New Orleans drops another one, which they might to Kansas City this week. But you're basically thinking you have to win out the rest of the season if you want that home field followed by the Super Bowl.
Yes, and the player I want to see is number 79, Anthony Rush. I want to see if they can get him in. I'd like to see him just get a little bit more bulk at the defensive tackle spot. Lowry and Lancaster are playing better too. So, but the Packers have just played a really weak schedule too.
Mm-hmm. Next week should be a test for them. Tennessee comes to town. I don't think that's a primetime game, is it?
I think it will be. I think isn't it a 3 o'clocker?
I'll check. Yeah, hopefully that gets flexed to Sunday Night Football. No, it is. They already put it on Sunday Night Football next week.
They did. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
It's a big game for Tennessee, too. Yeah, 2 a.m. start for Andrew out in Paris. 7:20 start for us in the States on the central time zone.
By then we'll have all had Christmas. The days will be getting longer. It's a week away is a whole new situation. But having that extra day of rest is big, and you can watch Tennessee play tomorrow.
And the Vikings and Saints play on Christmas Day this year. John, do you remember if the Packers have ever played on Christmas Day? Any memorable Christmas Day stories?
I can't think of a Christmas Day. I do. Well, I'll have to think that through. There might have been a home game at Christmas Day.
Do they usually play on Christmas Day when it's on a Sunday? I don't know.
Yeah, they did. I know they played let me think now. They played Minnesota, I know, Christmas Eve in a famous game. That was probably 2004, right around there, and they beat Minnesota. I know I went up to the game where let me look up the game. Oh, I don't have my press guide right here. The game where Leroy Butler invented the Lambeau Leap was a 4 degree below zero game against the Raiders. And they won that game. I think it was 28-0. But that might have been the day after Christmas. Let me take a quick look on that one. But that's an interesting. That was 1993, and the 26th. It was the day after Christmas because I remember I drove up the day before because it was so cold that I wasn't really. I wanted to make sure I was there because I didn't.
Yeah.
I think I had a string of 293 consecutive Packer home games that I went to, and I was in the middle of that string. And back when I was younger, that was more important to me than it is now.
John Ripken Jr., Cal Ripken Jr.'s football equivalent.
Yeah. You beat Favre.
Well, I saw every one of
No way.
I saw every one of Favre's home games.
Yeah.
And then I've seen every one of, until this year, I've saw every one of Aaron Rodgers' home games.
I thought you had a couple no-shows because of snow on the highway. Was that before Favre?
Well, I think it was, um, I think Matt Flynn was quarterbacking
Oh.
at that point. So I wasn't going to risk my life for that, basically. Yeah, boy, Aaron Jones is a slithery back. He really is.
How many carries? He's up to 13 carries. I think that's what he was at halftime.
And then 2 catches for 15 yards.
Yep. Yeah, A.J. Dillon came in for that one carry. I thought they might use him. I mean, it's early still the second half, but still no sign of him.
They must not think he's assignment sure yet.
Kind of feels like this game, everyone's just going through the motions, doing what they need to do. It hasn't really ever felt like this game has been in jeopardy as far as the Packers are concerned. It just seems super easy once again for Aaron Rodgers.
You know who Jeremy Chin reminds me of? Charles Woodson.
Where'd he go to school? Do you remember? Chin?
Southern Illinois.
I think those are the Salukis, I believe. There's a nice play by Carolina. Was that a 3-and-out to start the second half? I think it was.
Yeah.
Bakhtiari getting beat. Don't see that too often. It's got to feel even colder for those 500 fans without 60,000 in attendance and those steel bleachers with no body heat around. It's got to be tough. Devontae Adams still been a little quiet today for his standards, at least. What's he still at 5 for 38? I think he is.
38-yard punt.
He needs a touchdown, doesn't he, to keep that record going?
He does, yeah.
That streak.
I think it's 8 in a row, 8 games in a row with a touchdown catch from. If he doesn't, it would lead. It would take the streak over to Tunyon, who's now got 5 in a row.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Devontae Adams also has 6+ catches and a touchdown in 8 straight games, which is the longest streak in NFL history, which is pretty crazy. So not only is he scoring that touchdown, but he's giving you 6 catches a game as well.
Wow.
Andrew, any news from Rodgers and the Pat McAfee show that you watch all the time?
Oh, yes.
What did he say this week?
He got going a little bit on. I mean, he goes on there for sometimes like a full hour, just going on and on. He was talking about Tunyon. They're talking about yoga. How he does yoga. They both like yoga. They're both doing like gratitude. You know, there's things like that. It's really interesting to hear Rodgers talk like that. And then he started talking about what was it? Is that when he started talking about the MVP, or was it a different interview? He talked about it twice this week, didn't he? Like he kind of people are kind of giving him heat about that, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just trying to remember what he talked about this time. He's feeling pretty good on that show, though. It's like him just hanging out with his buddies, just chatting it up. So.
AJ Hawk's on that show as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. And yeah. I like that guy's interesting. So he was a punter. The guy who, McAfee, he was a punter for Indianapolis, but he also, I don't know did you know that he also tried stand-up comedy?
I did, yeah.
I watched one of his.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah. And I heard on an interview when when Rodgers was just having a normal interview this week, that's when that MVP question or the question about Jordan Love came up, and he got a little. He didn't like the question about obviously Jordan Love, and then he told the guy that, oh, you're a little salty because I go on that show on Tuesdays. So there's still there's some type of tension there a little bit, but it doesn't seem as bad when you're winning, right?
Yeah, great field position for the Panthers. What did you say that was, John? A 36-yard punt?
38-yard punt, yeah.
Jeez. That's going to be frustrating in the playoffs.
Is the deal that he doesn't really go on any other shows or talk to the media? It was just kind of rare this week that he talked a little more. Have you heard?
I don't think he's usually in the media that much, but I mean this year he's just been different attitude-wise, so who knows?
Yeah. You wonder if he's getting paid for that, and if there's a sponsor somehow.
Probably, I would assume so. Unless just because I know AJ Hawk's on that show, maybe they have a little agreement between the two of them. Maybe Rodgers lost a bet during the offseason or something. Who knows? This Packers defense today, though, it really has impressed me. They've been all over the field hitting harder than we usually see. I know Pip's always asking them to play with their heart a little bit, and it seems like they're all fired up. I don't know if it's because the holiday season's coming around or the playoffs are just around the corner.
Yeah, it's the playoffs. Whoa.
That was a nice pass by Teddy. I think it's going to be so strange come next year, hopefully, when everyone's back in packed arenas. I feel like it'll be super odd, like just as odd as it was for us when there was nobody in the crowd. DJ Moore on the end around, nothing going there. Nice play by Shannon Sullivan. What do you think of Shannon Sullivan, JD? Because I know Kevin King's got the contract coming up.
I think the Packers like him as a nickel defensive back, especially slot. He's really good over the middle. He was fine subbing in for when Alexander and King were out earlier in the year. The middle of the year, he was fine. I think the Packers are going to draft a corner in the first 3 rounds this year and let King go.
Michael.
Yes.
I just remembered one of the main things they talked about. It was actually right at the moment they had him on where Giannis made the decision that he was going to stay.
Oh.
So they brought it up to him since he's technically a part owner.
Right.
So that was interesting to hear him chat about and how that happened and how he became a part owner.
That's interesting that a current professional athlete is an owner of or part owner of another franchise in the Big Four. It's interesting.
Yeah, can you think of anyone else that's happened to, like an active player who had a part owner of another team?
I know LeBron is part owner of, I want to say, Arsenal or Liverpool, one of the two, but nothing in America that I can think of.
I think this is almost as impressive, but I am a part owner of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, it's better than I can say. I know my father has a share, so. Do you go to the board?
On my resume, part owner of the Green Bay Packers.
They have annual board meetings, do they not, John?
They invite me. I've never gone. You can get them online. And in fact, I ordered 2 shares, one so I could frame at my office and one I could frame at my home. So I sent the money in and they sent me one certificate that said 2 shares on it. So So I
Ruined it.
called them back and I said, and they sent me to Mike Reinfeld. Mike Reinfeld was the old UWM football star who was the business manager for the Packers for many years. And I explained, he goes, "Oh, okay. I was wondering why that was an odd thing. They wanted two of them." So, but
So you're the only two-time owner of the Green Bay Packers.
exactly. So I can brag at home and brag at the office. It's a conflict of interest, though. That's why I never rip the Packers on these podcasts. Because I could be taken down by the board of directors.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your shares.
No.
See if the Packers defense can once again hold him to a field goal. Can Teddy fumble again at the one? No, he's going to get in. This is, well, John, you mentioned it at the beginning of the second half that we've seen the Packers at times in the third quarter let off the gas and let teams come back in. Seeing it once again today.
Yeah. More important is the offense. It's if the offensive line is not doing the job, then take Mercedes Lewis and keep them in and have them chip. If you have to, you got to protect Rodgers
And I hate to bring it up again, but J.K. Scott punting the ball 38 yards is never going to help your defense.
right.
Started the ball at their own 49, I think, right at midfield.
Yeah, that drive was 7 plays, 51 yards, 353.
Yeah, Rodgers was just 105 yards passing. Just over 20 minutes to go in the game. 3 sacks for Rodgers today. That's got to be a season high in one game. 3 sacks, 25 yards.
Time of possession is even.
Really?
Well, the Carolina Panthers have lost 7 of their 8 games, but never more than by 8 points.
Yep. And they've played some tough teams, I think. I think the Saints were one, Kansas City. Or no, they played, the Saints, Kansas City they lost to on the road by only 2. Lost to Tampa Bay. So it's not like they're playing Jacksonville and losing. So the third down defense for Packers have been really good. The Panthers are just 1 of 7 on third down.
The trick is getting them to third down.
Yep. The Packers 4 of 8, 50% on third down. I think they were 44% coming into today. So what are you looking for here on this drive, John? A long 4 or 5 minute drive followed by 7 points?
Looking for a first down. You got to start off, get a first down, then get another one. Right now, whatever they're going to have to do something. The pass rush is just too good for the Packer offensive line. They're going to have to do something to chip and help those guys out.
What's the status on Tyler Irvin? Is he out? He got put on IR a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, he's got to stay out. Ooh. You got to stay out at least 3 weeks, I believe. So
They're showing the success of Matt LaFleur on the TV. He's been so good for the Packers. First 29 games, 23-6. Still hasn't lost back-to-back games. NFC Championship appearance in his first year. I think the firing of McCarthy has been justified already, as we see Jones with another big carry.
And his name is French.
late penalty flag. Hopefully it's a 15-yarder.
Holding on the defense.
Declined.
On a running play, you don't see that too often, do you?
Or do they add it on to the end of it?
Well, sure. Yeah, I'd like to see AJ Dillon get a couple touches though without Jamal Williams. You're right, John. Aaron Jones he's going to be beat up after today.
Is that Dillon in the backfield now? No,
it's still Jones. The bright cleats he has on today. MVS still without a catch. He's got that one target that went deep. Last week he had a really good game. 6 catches, 85 yards, and a touchdown against the Lions. But today he's been silent.
Yeah, Jones is 16 carries for $131.
So he's going to be over 20, you'd think. At least over 20. Could be 25. All right, John, let's get to a question here. It's Desmond from Milwaukee. He's loving Tunyon's play this year and just wanted to hear your thoughts on the big tight end for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, he's been a surprise. He hurt his hip seriously last year, came back from it. You love those guys that can be are low priced and come out of nowhere and become big time contributors. Wow, that was a third down play, wasn't it?
Yeah, Carolina's defense fired up. They're going to get off the field again. Pressure coming to Rodgers. He had to dump it off to Jones. Nothing going. Is that Shaq Thompson? I think so.
Yeah, if you're gonna have the number one record, you're gonna have to force a punt here.
Is he gonna catch that at the 1? Oh no.
You got to be kidding me. Yeah, that's poor special teams and
By both teams.
yeah.
No tackling for the Packers and catching that at the 1. You don't see that too often.
That's arrogant.
Yeah. He did do well to get it to the 20 though. I'll give him that. All right, getting a little scary time here for the Packers. Bad third quarter. DJ Moore's up to 77 yards receiving. Robbie Anderson doesn't have a catch. He's been quiet. They haven't. Yeah, it's really been good field position for the Panthers when they have scored. That punt from J.K. Scott, just a 51-yard drive, and
Yeah, now the plus is there's only 2:23 left of the third quarter.
And then we get into fourth quarter time where Rodgers takes over once again.
Well, it's time is fleeting, but yeah, it's time to force a punt.
I'll have to check after this game what Green Bay's point differential is in the third quarter. It's got to be one of the worst in the league, you'd think.
Yeah.
Michael and John, is it strange? Does it seem hard to believe that Rodgers reaching 40 TDs for the third time? Don't you? I feel like there were more of them. I mean, how many did Brady have during that run? Did he only have that one big year with all those touchdowns?
No, he's had many years. His best year was 2007, the year when Favre could have been MVP, but Brady threw 29 touchdown passes to Moss. That was a big.
So he's only, because it says Rodgers reaches 40 touchdowns for record third time. So that means Brady was just kind of in the 30s a lot, except for a couple those big years.
Yes.
Where he went off.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Peyton Manning too. I think Peyton Manning might surprise me even more than Brady.
Yeah.
Watching Trevor Lawrence play against Notre Dame today, he's Peyton Manning, and he's even faster than Luck from Stanford. I mean, this guy is a generational talent at quarterback. He's getting a lot of time.
Do you think there's going to be any trouble with him going? Will he go to the Jets if that's the situation?
Oh, he'll go to the Jets. The Jets just have to get some offensive linemen.
All right, big drive here for Carolina. They'll probably tick it into the fourth quarter. They still have enough time on the clock where they can continue to run the ball with Mike Davis and Smith, as you see here. Especially with how that defense is playing against Aaron Rodgers and company right now. It's not a necessity to take shots downfield.
Yeah, the biggest play in this game was that turnover by Bridgewater.
Yeah. Forced by Chris Barnes, picked up by Kevin King.
Hold on Kenny Clark, but
goes uncalled.
Wow.
Right in front of the ref's face, too.
Look at him. Right there.
Yeah. Not often you see the Packers not dominating time of possession. It seems like they always win it by 3 or 4 minutes, and most likely Carolina will take the lead on time of possession after this drive. They'll take it into the fourth quarter, trailing 21-10. What are you thinking, John? You still confident they'll pull this out? Or I'm feeling pretty nervous over here.
No, you gotta force a punt, and they haven't come close in the second half to doing that. But I'm thinking put Anthony Rush in the game and see if he can stuff the run.
What's the reason do you think they haven't put him in yet? Is it just because he doesn't know the playbook as well? Or, I mean, defensively, it's not like you need to know plays. So why haven't they put him in?
They just don't trust him to be assignment sure. But Lancaster and Lowry are getting pushed off the ball. And, maybe it's partly the turf. You need these guys are big guys, but you need someone heavier to not slide on the turf. And I would be interested to see him play a couple downs just to see what he would do. His number is 79. But yeah, I'm definitely concerned about this. But Carolina is good. They've been doing this. They do this to a lot of people, for a lot of teams.
It almost feels like they're a mini version of the Packers, a little less oil, but they had the fewest punts coming into today, where they like to use a lot of the game clock like the Packers do. They just aren't as successful in it, and their defense has been playing better. I'm worried though. I mean, this is a trend, it seems like, for the Packers, where they let their foot off the gas in the third quarter and fourth quarters and let teams open the door and find a way back into games before eventually, usually Rodgers is making a play to secure the win, but feels like the full 60 minutes hasn't been there for the Packers.
Well, and you've had 2 drops by Devontae Adams. You've had at least 1 drop by Lazard.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's time that those guys got their act together, so to speak. And
Yep.
But still, Jones, they've rushed for over 170 yards on the ground,
Yep.
or 176 rushing net yards obviously on the ground. But Rodgers is 16 of 24, but say there's been 4 drops in that. And the Packers are playing their traditional 3-4.
There's the first catch for Robbie Anderson today. Jair Alexander's been putting the locks on that matchup. Do you put Jair Alexander into the category of elite corners in this league? Top 5, top 3?
Pro Football Focus does. I guess I wouldn't yet. I think he needs to have more interceptions. You need a turnover right here.
There's a good play.
Yeah, he and Barnes, Martin and Barnes are good young players. And I think if I had to improve the Packers for next year, I draft an offensive tackle, a cornerback, and a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. And then I use there should be a lot of free agency when they cut the salary cap because of lack of revenue. I use the free agency to get defensive linemen.
That was way too easy of a pickup for Ian Thomas, their tight end, on a 3rd and 4. They don't necessarily need a touchdown here either. A field goal will make it an 8-point game, which I think is what we saw against the Jaguars, where they cut it to 8.
Yeah, it's 5 yards on first down every time.
Mm-hmm. It is a good thing that McCaffrey was not back today for them, though. That would have really made it difficult on this Packers defense. He was questionable to return. People thought he would. He had to sit 1 more week. He's deadly from the rushing game and from the passing game.
This is the 8th play, 46 yards. The 9th play, if 8 plays, 46 yards, 4-10.
There's Anderson over the middle for his second catch of the drive.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, their sideline's getting fired up.
Yep.
Packer defense
We saw it, their defensive coordinator after that last stop. He was throwing his headset out of excitement. They're fired up.
I see Kiki's in there now at
Mhm.
defensive line.
Trickery here. Oh boy, flea flicker looking for Teddy, but is that Dean Lowry that blew that up? I think they were trying to get Teddy on the other end with a
Yeah.
and Dean Lowry saw it and blew up Teddy at the line of scrimmage
I
there.
think Jair Alexander saw it. Watch or Kenny King. Watch King sitting back there. Kevin King.
Yeah.
He sits back there, so he sees it. It starts coming up, and then that's when they said, "Oh boy." This trickeration, throwing to a quarterback that had 3 ligaments taken out of his knee.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing this.
Especially this drive, they've been so successful and so efficient too. Just keep what you're doing.
Yeah.
And now you got a 3rd and long.
This was tipped by Lowry.
Yep.
Boy, this is a huge play right here. But boy,
Yeah, great play by Lowry.
this is 11 plays, 62 yards, 624. The best thing the Packers have going for him is look, he's wide open.
Yeah. Carolina's gonna have to use a timeout.
$10.54.
That's why they came into the game second best in time of possession, right behind Green Bay.
Yeah, they're dinking and dunking, and I'm impressed with their offensive line. Their pass protection, even without a Kuhn, is fantastic. Their offensive left tackle. This is an impressive team. Well, and look at the Packers. The Packers beat them last year with that goal line stand, where they stuffed McCaffrey at the inch line.
Yep.
Yeah, the Buccaneers, when we go through that, so it goes Green Bay 1, New Orleans, Rams.
Oh boy. Jeez, come on, guys. Yeah, and Seattle's right in there too. That play at the goal line by Chris Barnes becoming more and more important.
Boy.
That fumble. Otherwise, this game could be Carolina winning or leading.
See, the reason why the bye right now, Green Bay, if they have the bye, New Orleans plays Arizona and Tampa plays the Rams in week 1. And then Washington plays Seattle. That's huge. You want Tampa out of there. So you either play Tampa or the Rams. You
Yep.
don't play both.
Nice break up there by Adrian Amos. He's had a pretty good game today.
Yeah, he's been good the last 3-4 weeks.
Him and Savage. Savage has been good, having a couple interceptions as of late. He had 2 in the one game. 3rd and goal, another big play here. Oh, don't tell me he's going to do it again. Oh, ball's out. Now this is going to be a touchdown, I believe.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. You gotta be more aware.
So he fumbled, and I think they recovered it at the goal line.
I think
Carolina, that is.
the last couple of minutes they will only the guy who fumbles
Yep.
can get credited. But I think that's okay.
Last 2 minutes it is. Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird rule where you can't do it under 2 minutes, but for some reason you can do it earlier. I think that happened in an NFL game either this Thursday night or on last Sunday. I think it was the Thursday night game with Herbert.
The touchdown. No.
Oh, Jason Ruck, our producer, telling us there's holding on the play, so it'll be a 10-yard penalty, which will make it 3rd and goal from the 18.
That's embarrassing, though. Goodness gracious. This is the 14 plays, 63 yards, 747. I see they have Gary in for some.
Ooh, and now it's decision time for Matt Rule. They can make this a 1-score game with a field goal. Yep, they're going to kick it. So it'll be an 8-point game, assuming Joey Slye knocks in the chip shot. I mean, I'd like to see Rodgers throw the ball more, especially with Jamal Williams out, and we don't necessarily want to see Jones carry the ball as much, but Rodgers just with 107 passing yards today. It's not like him. Kicks up and good. 21-13. This is the Pip and Dodds Packers podcast featuring me, Michael Rachel, filling in for Tom Pippins as he is celebrating the holiday with families. Some of our sponsors, DJ's Goalpost, Don Matovich over on Appleton Avenue. He's been a friend of the podcast for quite some time. Really good food over there. Go drop by, see all the sports memorabilia, get a burger, get some pizza, a beer. It's a massive place, plenty of room to social distance. So go check out DJ's Goalpost on Appleton Avenue. For Milwaukee, as we talked about earlier, a golf simulator bar located on Water Street in downtown Milwaukee. You can play up to, I believe it's over 50 courses from around the world. Some of the famous ones such as Augusta, TPC Sawgrass, courses like that. They're currently running last-minute gift specials with gift cards and winter golf leagues, so you can get a good deal for the holiday. Frederick Packaging. Frederick Packaging started in September 1975, and Frederick is he's now a semi-retired, but he's the former owner and had humble beginnings in the basement office of his home. Started it from the basement of his house, and now they've got top floor offices. So pretty cool story there. And then PCI, Professional Construction Inc. They have been serving their community since 2004. So go check out all of those sponsors. John, what do you want to see on this next drive? I know you're always about get a first down first, and let's go from there. But what do the Packers need to do to get that first down?
Well, first I'd like to see them run the ball on play number 1 to let the clock tick, and then go from there and hopefully get more than 5 yards on the first run. So there's 8:39 left. They haven't had any first downs. They haven't had a first down since the second quarter.
Oh, wow.
And or I take that back. They had a first down via penalty.
Yeah.
In the last drive, but that was then a quick punt after that. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing. Let's see, Scott is averaging 44 yards a punt on 5 punts, and Aaron Jones, 16 carries, 131. And Devontae Adams, 5 for 38. You need to get 2 first downs at least.
Andrew Grogan also with us. He's the head of the marketing at Elephantly. Andrew, if you want to give a quick briefing as to what Elephantly is all about, and then your thoughts on this fourth quarter here.
Sure. Elephantly, we do everything from mobile applications to e-commerce stores to customized websites. Also paying a lot of attention to SEO, which is search engine optimization. So overall, we just make sure you're found online and you look great. So that's kind of what we are doing. Got a lot of cool clients around the world. And of course, Pip and Dodds being right up there as the
coolest,
the standard. As for the game, I mean, this is the perfect opportunity to get to go down the field and have Devontae keep that streak alive. That's all I can think of. That would be amazing right now. Otherwise, it's been one of those great starts and sluggish second halves like we were worried about.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That was a nice play by Rogers to find an open Tunyon, scrambled around. They didn't come out with the run though, John.
Well, but the clock's still running. Thank goodness he caught it, and they, over 5 minutes they let the clock run. Unlike college football, which they always stop it, it makes it these 4-hour games.
Back to the running game with Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams out with that lower leg injury that he suffered in the first quarter. And then A.J. Dillon came in for the 1 carry, picked up 18 yards. Haven't seen him since.
Yeah, they probably just don't trust the rookie right now. Being the assignment sure, and he's been out. And
my question is, why bring him in for that 1 play then? If you're not going to intend on playing him any more than that 1 play.
We had a big lead. It wasn't a 21-3 or it was.
That's true.
Big.
Yeah.
So this is 2nd and 5. 2 plays, 5 yards. Can they do it? Just get this thing going.
Oh, there was a broken play that worked. Wow. Rodgers was expecting to hand it off to Aaron Jones, and Jones wasn't looking for it. And somehow the quarterback of speed in this league, Aaron Rodgers, picks up 6 yards for a first down. What a play call. $187 rushing yards for the Packers.
Keep ticking. Four yards in the first play. Yeah, they're only keeping 8 in the box, so they think they can handle the run with just their front. Actually, they had 8 in the box, and they went to cover more downfield. So let's see what they do here. Okay, they only have really 6 in the box now.
Aye. There is a flag, but something's not working with Adams and Rodgers tonight. Is that a legal motion? What's that signal there, John?
Yeah, illegal.
Now Matt Rule has the decision to accept or decline it.
He declined it. But it stops the clock, I believe, unless.
Yeah, it should, because it was an incomplete pass. Showing a bunch of clips of Rodgers being upset. Big play, 3rd and 7, 6 minutes, 3 seconds to go. Get a first down here, and you can take a minute and a half, 2 minutes more off the clock. Plus getting to field goal range a little bit. It's a big play here. Oh, wide open is Allen Lazard. Why are you hurdling him? I was worried on that play because I saw Devontae Adams basically go for a go route there. I was concerned.
Oh, nice little pick.
Yep. Is that Tunyon that threw that pick?
Yeah.
As Lazard knees the defender in the face.
Meanwhile, tick, 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 tick. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're in field goal range.
2 timeouts for the Panthers. They had to use one on that 3rd down and 7 on the last possession.
Yeah.
So they'll have that in the 2-minute warning.
It's under 5 minutes.
And any sort of points for the Packers will make it a 2-score game.
Well, I got the blocking tight end in.
Yep. Oh boy, nothing going there.
Boy, they got some good-looking defensive backs on this team.
Yeah. We've seen nobody shut down Devontae Adams this year, and Carolina's done the best job by far.
They even got a nice spot. They gave him a yard on that.
Yeah. 4 minutes to go. Big 3rd down and 7 again. They are in field goal range, so they can make an 11-point game with Crosby's kick.
You'd like to bring it in about just a little bit.
Yep.
A little bit more. No sack.
Look out. And there is the sack to bring it to the 33. So it'll be a 50-yarder. And did Carolina take a timeout? I think they did. The clock was stopped.
No, it stops on a sack.
Oh, does it for the ball to be placed?
Yeah, to be placed. Then they get the receivers who are downfield to come back, and then they start it again.
Huh.
Wow.
And that's now 5 sacks for Rodgers today, I believe. I'll double check that.
Wow, this is a long field goal for Crosby. It's 8 yards longer than it should have been.
And he needs it. Put it up 2 scores for the Packers.
$51-yarder. Wow. That is a.
Can Crosby keep the streak alive? Does it have enough distance? Oh, yes. Mason Crosby from 51.
Wow, that's huge.
16 in a row for Crosby now on the season. Still to miss in 2020.
Yeah, I guess,
Wow.
I guess there's no wind up there tonight.
I mean, he is so clutch. He's been clutch time and time again this year and just career-wise for the Packers. You look around the league and you see some of the kickers. I know the Chargers, Badgley missed a couple this week against the Raiders on Thursday night. And then you look at Mason Crosby, and it's just money every time, it seems like.
Well, that was a 10-play drive, 42 yards, 5 minutes even. And man, oh man. This was predicted. I heard a lot of people this week say, some of the sports guys saying that it's going to be a low-scoring game, and their defense is really good, and they're never out of it. And that's absolutely right. Their defense is they have nice wide receivers. They have an interesting team.
Yeah.
That are just a hair. They're just a hair away from being really good. And Green Bay has got to next year load up on the defensive linemen. You got to be more stout, and Get some playmakers.
And Carolina's doing this without arguably their best player, Christian McCaffrey, and a starting offensive tackle, Russell Okung. Future's bright for them.
Aaron Jones has 139 yards and a touchdown and 18 carries. And Rodgers has 4 carries for 27 yards.
And a touchdown.
And a touchdown.
Yeah, it's disappointing Jamal Williams, though, had that injury in the first quarter. You wonder how different the running game would look for Aaron Jones if that injury did not occur. But Devontae Adams, 7 catches, but just 42 yards.
Only dropped 2 of them, too.
Yeah. 10 targets, 7 catches, but
Sometimes
has not found the end zone.
Sometimes it's good to eat a little humble pie. Everybody's kissing you behind during the week.
Yeah.
How great are you, Devontae? I mean, if anybody, human nature, if somebody asks you that so many times, how great are you? Jeez. Now they just need to have an extra day of rest and get that defense going up for gearing up for the big old hoss.
Yep, Derrick Henry will be coming to town next Sunday night. And yeah, that humble pie would be better served with a victory as well. So, bad game, but Packers get a win. I can live with that. And there is the schedule. You would hope, I heard some people on the radio talking about get a win versus Tennessee. Maybe you can lock up that 1 seed, sit everybody against Chicago, let them get a win, so that they think Mitch Trubisky is the answer, as you've mentioned many times, JD, is you want Trubisky to play decently well, except against you, but if you got everything locked up, hey, let Trubisky go out a little bit.
Well, the Rams would have to lose at Seattle next week, and New Orleans would have to lose to Kansas City tomorrow for them to be able to lose a game and still have the so if that happened, if then they could beat Tennessee and then solidify the number 1 seed, assuming COVID doesn't knock out some type of postpone some games and they add a team to the playoffs.
Right.
And oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, would you even want them sitting guys in week 17 if they have that bye? Right, because that would be 2 weeks off.
They did that in 2011, and it came back to bite them. They didn't activate Clay Matthews, Aaron Rodgers. Now, Flynn threw 6 touchdown passes against Detroit in that game. But I remember Jimmy Johnson warning them in the postgame. He said, boy, don't sit them out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, nice play by Gary.
And he gets injured on the play as well. Looks like I don't know.
It's either a shoulder deal or it's a leg issue.
I thought it was a leg originally, but then we'll see. Yeah, it's going to be a left leg, I think. Can't tell if that was Darius Smith that clipped him or.
Oh, he got probably a contusion. I cannot believe those guys don't wear pads on their knees.
Yeah.
None of those guys do, and they get these contusions on their knees, these bruises, and back in the 60s, at least they wore a little bit of a padding down there. That guy, if he takes a jump next year the way he took a jump this year, he's going to be a heck of a player. But he's another guy who's a little bit fragile. He comes out a lot in games. You can't overuse him. So all these people that want to get rid of Preston Smith, do not do that. Unless you can redo a deal with Preston Smith so you can have some flexibility on the cap. I'm all for that.
Teddy goes down once again. Is Darius Smith with the bear crawl. Is that now 11.5 for him this year? Let's check on that. Yeah, it's 11.5 sacks for him this year. He was tied for third coming into the game.
It's not a first down if they mark it right.
Yeah, I think he's just short. And now Za'Darius. Is that Za'Darius? Yeah.
Did he hurt himself doing the bear crawl?
I was just gonna ask that. I would hope not. It's the right ankle, so I doubt it. But who knows?
I think he's been on the injury list with an ankle.
So 2 out of the last 3 plays has seen him and Rashawn Gary exit. All right, JD. So we talked about who the biggest threat is in the NFC. Who would you like the Packers to play in the first round or second round? I should say if they get the bye.
If they buy, well, in the scenario right now, if it goes Green Bay 1, 2 New Orleans, 3 Rams, 4 Washington because they're the East winner or whoever the East winner would be. I think it's Washington right now. Then the wild card, Seattle is the best, then Tampa, then Arizona. So you would have New Orleans play Arizona the first week. The Rams play Tampa. You'll love that because you don't want to see Tampa or the Rams. You just want to see one. You don't want to see both. You want to see one.
Yep.
And then Seattle plays Washington. Seattle goes to Washington to play at Washington because Washington gets the home game because they won their division. So let's assume New Orleans wins, the Rams beat Tampa, and Seattle beats Washington. That would mean Green Bay would play Seattle in Lambeau, and
DJ Moore just pops one off for 50 plus yards. Not quite, but 30-yard play for DJ Moore. He just broke a tackle here. Wow, bad tackling. Go ahead though, JD.
that is embarrassing.
3 guys.
And this is not. We still have the 2-minute warning to go.
Yeah. 2 timeouts, 2-minute warning. Oh, 1 timeout. They must have used one. And they're going to elect to kick the field goal. We talked about this last week. 1st and 10 for the Carolina Panthers, and they'll kick the field goal. Joey Sly sneaks it in. I like it. I think that's smart for Carolina.
33-yard field goal, 24-16. That's an embarrassing play that they got a chance to kick a field goal that quickly.
Yep. And now what do you do? 2:04 left, 1 timeout. So you got the 2-minute warning.
You kick it. Well,
Kick it deep.
You can kick it. Well,
I don't know what the time situation would look like
I
here.
think the onside kick it and you try to get it to Brandon Bostic. Boy, that was embarrassing.
If you kick it deep, you better hope it's a touchback though, because we could return this one and hope 4 seconds go off. I know we're not confident in our return game, but that would basically eliminate.
Forcing Green Bay to get a field goal to get a first down. That is a 40-yard pass play after 3 guys had him. So Moore has six receptions for 131.
It looks like they're going to kick it deep. And it is a touchback, so they will have the 2-minute warning to play with.
Huh. Boy, that's okay. So you have a 2-minute warning after a run.
Yep.
And then you run a play and they call timeout. And if you pass and you incomplete, you got about 150 to go with J.K. Scott punting.
There's Aaron Jones for 6-7. He'll get 7 on first down. 2-minute warning.
Huge.
1 first down, I believe, ends this game now, does it not?
Yeah, so they have 2 plays to get 3 yards.
Yep.
It's the modern day player, but you're doing this crawl and the game's not over. You have to get up and you have to run on to the right side of the line of scrimmage or you're off sides. And then your guys have 3 guys around the receiver and you let them go. It's so disappointing, but so either you're the worst number 1 seed ever, or what's happening is with the salary cap, everybody just has weaknesses.
Yep.
And you just got to be patient and just say, New Orleans has weaknesses. New Orleans just put Thomas, their wide receiver, on injured reserve to get him to heal for playoffs. So everybody's got a problem, and they're activating Drew Brees to play against Kansas City. That's an interesting move.
Yep.
Because he broke 4 ribs?
Yep.
Less than about a month ago. So everybody is nobody is really a shiny penny at this point, I guess. Everybody's got some weaknesses. And the Packers, being in a small town community, maybe they can control their players better for COVID compared to other players in a big city. So this is more like, hey, we saw you were at the Target last night.
The Fleet Farm, yeah.
Yeah, you went to the Fleet Farm last night. You shouldn't have been. Oh, sorry, it won't happen again. I mean,
Menards.
Yeah, Menards, exactly.
Just have the accountability that, I saw you hitting balls at 4 down in Milwaukee. What's that?
Stop doing that.
Yeah, it was fun though. It was my day off, but
They got a headline.
exactly. Well, but it's never easy. So now you have, so here's an interesting play. You play the percentages, and I think what Rodgers did that I've noticed over the last decade, he comes to the line of scrimmage in the McCarthy era, and he would look and see how many guys were in the box. So if there's 4 linemen and 3 linebackers, there's 7 in the box. If they move a safety up, that's 8 in the box. And then you play action fake and you try to hit Tunyon on a little curl in for about 5 yards, and then the game's over. Then you go into victory formation. Let's see what look at it. They got 9 guys in the box, 10 guys in the box right now.
Yeah, and it'll be a 2-yard loss to make it 3rd and 5.
So that was
You running or throwing it here? 3rd and 5. No timeouts for Carolina.
well, if you run it, no, they're using it right now. I think they're using their timeout.
Yeah,
right.
they just used their last timeout. Jason Ruck, our producer, is saying if you think you got the MVP, you pass it, right? What do you think, John?
Well, if you had the MVP receivers, you would have it a sure thing. But tonight, if you run the ball, you're going to be punting it with about 1:20 to go. But if you get the first down on the pass, then you win the game.
I think I'm throwing the ball given you're up 8 and not like 4 or 5, where a touchdown still doesn't beat you.
I take a safety. But that's really aggressive. Okay, they got 10 in the box.
Call a timeout here. Yeah. I feel like this will be an Aaron Rodgers convincing Matt LaFleur to throw the ball here.
So here's the scenarios where you see all the home games on the left with the Packers, New Orleans, Rams, and Washington. And then you have Seattle, Tampa Bay. Boy, if you could if you can avoid, I mean, the worst case scenario is you're the Packers, and all of a sudden you have a game against Arizona or Tampa that first game, and then you play New Orleans and the Rams to get to the Super Bowl. That's tough. I've always been a path of least resistance kind of guy, and just living life and watching my sports teams.
How about a pass to Devontae? He's got the room to score, but he goes down to end the game
A big Runyon
without the touchdown.
Runyon just came
that he
in
needs.
as a tight end. I hope he talked to the ref about it.
Yep, they're going to throw the ball, but I think Carolina was ready for that. Oh boy. Did he go down? Yeah, they're going to rule him down. Oh boy, there's an injury.
You've got to be kidding me.
So now J.K. Scott's going to be punting from basically the end zone.
That is, I guess that's Aaron Rodgers at 37. Now, nobody.
Yeah, it's better than an incomplete pass. But now we got to stress.
Well, they shut the clock down after the sack. Now, when do they turn it on? But that was a timeout. Losing 14 yards that's a first down, essentially.
J.K. Scott, oh boy, he almost got to it. That looked like a block in the back. 55 seconds. And Carolina will have to go 50. What is that, about 59 yards, I think it was? Oh, he did not miss that by much.
Oh, boy.
It almost looked like his arms weren't fully extended. Oh, yeah, they were. Are they going to get him for the block in the back? I thought I saw a block in the back. Holding, same difference.
Okay.
So now they'll have to go
So that makes
60 plus.
That makes up for the sack, that holding penalty. That's the difference between Aaron Rodgers at 27 and Aaron Rodgers at 37. He would have gotten away with that. He would have gotten away from Burns. But Burns is a good player. Burns is the guy they would have taken if they traded back from that Gary pick. Because I think Gary was taken by the Packers at 12, and I think Burns is like at 17. Okay, so 55, 80 yards and 55 seconds, no timeouts.
Get him. What receiver is in the area? Yeah, that's going to be intentional grounding.
Unless he's saying that he got his arm hit. That's what the official said. I think he hit his arm and it's an incomplete pass.
So either be 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 20, I think.
Whenever the zebras are talking, it's not good.
I think they are going to call it.
So loss of down and a sack, basically.
Yeah. I thought he might have been down when he was throwing it, but guess not.
Well, it's essentially what they're going to call.
Right. Oh, he got hit in the face, too. Now they got to go 90 yards.
39 seconds.
Well, they really, 10-second runoff. Good call up by Jason Ruck. They really just got to go 40, 50 yards, get into Hail Mary territory. You're not going to go 90 yards with just 30 seconds to go, no timeouts. This was a lower scoring game than I was expecting. I know you said, John, some people were saying it would be low scoring. Surprises me a little bit. That's got to be. Oh, Curtis Samuel almost came up with a one-hand grab. So now it'll be 4th and 9.
Well, that was Kirksey guarding him.
Yeah.
Whoa. I don't know if you want that. He's pretty open right there.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was just turned the wrong way. Oh, he wanted a late hit. Matt Rule, head coach to Carolina, wanted a late hit on Teddy. Not going to get it. It'll be 4th and 9.
Who was the one that hit him?
I'm not sure.
That might have been was that Rush? Was that 79 that did that?
Oh boy, there's a free play. There's a free play. Oh. Unbelievable. So it'll still be 4th down, 4th and 4. But geez.
Oh, that brings back a bad memory when Jair Alexander intercepted the ball of Kirk Cousins, and they called Matthews for
roughness. Yeah. The only good thing there is time did take off from that pass, but 4th and 4.
So Kiki was the one. Oh man, that's the weak spot of the defense. It was deep over the middle. You got the linebacker covering the wideout. Wow.
4th and 4. This would end the game on a stop, and it will. No flags. So the Packers are going to escape with a 24-16 victory. They'll move to 11 and 3. Ugly second half. Did they score in the second half?
The field goal.
A field goal. You're right. It was 21-3 at half. The final will be 24-16. They moved to 11 and 3, still the 1 seed in the NFC. But man, you don't feel good leaving this one, do you, John?
You won ugly. You had to win. Carolina is a good team in some respects. They have some really good defensive players. You put Aaron Rodgers on Carolina, and you have a whole different story in this one. Mm. But Rodgers ended up with 20 out of 29 for 143, and Aaron Jones 20 attempts, 145 yards. And it was a pretty short game, both running a lot of long drives.
Yeah, it was
you win ugly and you survive. You got an extra day of rest. You can watch Tennessee tomorrow, and you can jack yourself up for, can we stop this guy? And you better be on your game next week.
I'm with you. A win's a win. If this game would have ended at halftime, I think I'd be feeling really good about this Packers team. But that second half, just, oh man, the offense really. I mean, the defense was put in some bad spots. J.K. Scott had that 38-yard punt where Carolina started at midfield, but the offense had nothing going in that second half. So I'm concerned. But we'll see. Any final thoughts? Otherwise, we'll get out of here. I know you've got some Christmas decorations to put up, as always.
Some leaves to rake. And I just can't overemphasize how important a bye is. So hopefully there's no COVID issue in the next 3 weeks, so they don't add a team. And but sit out in a bye and let Tampa play New Orleans or the Rams. That's the big thing. You don't want to play New Orleans and the Rams. You only have to play the winner. So it would be play Seattle and the winner of the New Orleans Ram game to get to the Super Bowl. You can't ask for anything better than that.
So go Kansas City tomorrow against New Orleans, although that would pretty much secure them the 1 seed in the AFC, I believe. So you're kind of playing with two ends of a sword there. But as always, thanks to our sponsors, DJ's Goalpost, Elephantly Collective, obviously with Andrew Grogan here, for Milwaukee, Frederick Packaging, and Professional Construction, Inc. Tom Pipins hopefully will be back next week, so you don't have to listen to me be the host and the professional be back in the booth with us. But it was fun to run this point for a little bit. So Packers win it 24-16. They move to 11-3, number 1 seed in the NFC with just 2 to go. We'll be back next Sunday night against Tennessee. This is the Pip and Dodds Packers podcast.
Great job, Mike.